Oh my gosh.
Jeez, I think it's
What
on.
is going on?
I think it's on. We're live, bro.
Oh,
Yeah, we're live.
sounds beautiful.
I don't know if I'm in.
Is it in tune? It is. It sounds in tune.
Sounds in tune.
What song is that?
That's when my train pulls in by Gary Clark Jr.
Very nice.
You know another song?
Nope, I don't.
I was just listening to that like for the last, I don't know. It's been on my mind for a few weeks.
Really?
And just when I first heard it, yeah, when my train pulls in, if you get a chance, go check it out. But like when I first heard it, I was like, it was really hard to get the rhythm right because I was playing it kind of funny. It was like, no, I was just playing it off beat. So when the drums were playing, I was always behind. I said, I've lost, like Phineas and Ferb, I've lost rhythm. I've lost that kind of thing. But yeah, man. No, now I hear it. I catch the rhythm. Like I really like the song. I've always liked Gary Clark, but that was like the song that made me go in on like, he's really good. So
pretty solid riff to start off with.
Yeah, man. Do me a favor. Your levels are low.
Oh,
you get in on yours a bit.
Get in on that.
Yeah.
That volume.
I don't know if I can turn yours up or something, but you're number one, so I'll turn.
Hello.
Up. Yeah, you're good.
That's better.
You're good there. I might just turn you up a tad. One more.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
How you been, man?
Yeah, I've been pretty good. It's been a long time since our last episode.
Yeah. 2 months maybe?
Yeah, 3 actually.
Really?
We did it just at the start of February.
Jeez.
So now it's almost
the end
March,
of April. So yeah, close to 3.
Almost 3 months. Yeah, 2.5.
You've been busy though. You started back at uni and
Yeah, I started back at uni.
yeah.
And how's your business, dude?
Business is well. It's always just like, I don't know. There's the how do you put it? How you see it on Instagram versus reality.
Yeah.
The Instagram is you going out there and, doing business. It's like, this is all good. The reality is like paperwork and like, man, like I got burnt by this contract, so maybe I should change it next time so I could do this. And I should really, start taking, like looking into my books, for when I'm doing my returns and stuff. So
yeah, fair.
that stuff. But I don't know, wouldn't have it any other way.
Just a lot of administrative stuff.
A lot of admin, but it's fun, man. Like it's, everyone's got to do something to fill their time.
You been up to anything else interesting lately?
Yeah, not much. My like every time you ask me between the months of August to let's say May, it's almost always going to be like, oh yeah, I've been watching Premier League.
Yeah.
My team's been doing well, been doing bad. My team's been doing shocking.
Really?
Oh yeah,
and
dude.
Your team's Liverpool, right?
Yeah, so I mean, so in the Premier League, yeah, my team is Liverpool.
Yeah.
In the in La Liga, because I have another team, my team is Barcelona.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, love those guys.
Yeah, one of my tutoring students watches like Premier League and stuff like that, and she went to see the Matildas play.
Okay.
At some point.
Yeah. Right. A-League then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's about the extent that I know that there's a team called Matildas in Australia.
I think you'd like football, man. There's not much to, like the rules aren't complex kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like onside, offside is probably the worst. You'd have to.
Yeah, I remember when we played at school and people said like offside. I was like,
offside.
how am I meant to know whether I'm on the right side of the field? What do you mean?
But that's like the most complex that it gets. Like in what do you call it? Like on all the other sports that I love, like your baseball or like basketball, for example. Like you have like a clock telling you how long you're supposed to have the ball for and how long you're supposed to be in a certain zone, and there's like a lot to keep up with, which is like. Like when you hear a whistle, you don't even know. Well, if you're not in tune, like you don't know what's happening. So, I think we should get you in on football, man.
Watching or playing?
Both.
I mean, fair enough.
Both.
If I can find the time.
I think if you watch, if you play,
if you play, you probably watch.
Or you play it and you find it hard, but you would like do one or two things that you really like, and you're like, oh, geez, this is very fun. The day you're able to juggle like more than 3, I guarantee you just start watching a little bit.
I can barely even juggle one.
The day you can juggle 3, I'm telling you.
Juggle once and then it's like, oh wait, it's gone already.
Nah, 3. We'll get you to 3 by the end of the year.
Shit, dude.
Oh, it's actually slightly, not to keep it all about me, but I had my nephew. My nephew's over, my nephew and niece. But one of them was competing in nationals for swimming.
Dude, that's mad.
Yeah, they did really well. Une, shout out. I was watching you on TV. Yeah, he did really well. But it just got me thinking. I'm like, I don't know how to swim.
Yeah.
As you know, it's not. I was saying that like it's some kind of secret. It's not. But yeah,
Prosper
dude.
finally reveals his secret after 24 years.
24 years.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, I don't know how to swim. But like watching them, they're like 16-year-olds, and they're dude like fish in the water, man. Just.
Oh, I thought your cousin was playing nationals. Soccer.
No, swimming.
Oh, yeah.
No football. But yeah, they were swimming in nationals.
Yeah.
Yeah, surprising, right? I who cannot swim have a, and like all of his siblings
really well,
are really good. But
that's mad.
Yeah, man, dude, I've committed. I know I've said it before for like the last 3 summers, but at the end of this summer, I'm gonna know how to swim. A solid 100 meters.
I reckon you could do it, man.
Thanks, man.
I reckon you're capable.
Maybe we'll film it as a special. Actually, that'd be mad. Maybe we could.
Prosper getting
his
lessons.
His first 100. No way.
First 100. Okay.
Yeah, no way. I'm showing you guys. Yeah, it's my first 100.
Too embarrassing.
That's right. I'm not showing you guys that.
Jeez.
I have too many ops.
I've actually got an essay due on Sunday.
Oh, do you?
And I've got like 2 things on tomorrow, and I've booked in this, and I was like spending time on my essay, and I was like, crap, I don't have anything for the podcast. I'm like, bro, uni is just so hard to juggle with like a job and just having a life. But here
it's
we
fun,
are.
isn't it?
Yeah. It's good. I'm enjoying it because it's variety. I think having lived the 9 to 5 or 8 till 5:30 at one point, where it's just like go into work, go home, go into work the next day, go home, and then you like basically waiting for the weekend. It's so monotonous and just like boring. Whereas there's actually some variety to my days now, and the friendships that I'm making along the way are really good. Shout out to CBM for setting me up with some great quality friends.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah. At the moment, I wanted to do some little announcements for the podcast. This is we're not doing monthly episodes anymore. It's just not really sustainable.
If we can, we will, but
if we can,
thus far, no.
At the moment, it's just like both of us have pretty busy schedules. So we're going to fit with the title of our podcast, which is the quarterly report.
Right. How we started this thing.
Before we were overachieving, so now we're just regular achieving.
That's right.
And it's going to be quarterly episodes. We'll try and get them in reasonably within the month of like that the new quarter starting. And we'll be trying to bring back the rating of our quarters. So, to start us off, how would you rate the last quarter? So, January, February, March.
Yeah. Dude, I can't complain. Like, if there's something to complain.
Out of 4 or
out of 4? I say out of 15. No, look, I don't know. If there's something to complain about, then yeah, I'll rate it low. But no, being good, good health, living life. Okay. My teams suck, but that's about it, man. I'm chilling. I'll give it out of 15. I'll give it a solid 11. I think there's always room for
11 out of
improvement, but
15.
11 I'm happy with.
Okay. I'll give it a rating out of 74 just to be fun.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. So out of 74, I'll probably give it like a 68,
Jeez.
67 maybe.
This is that good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm glad,
So,
man.
yeah, it's been pretty good.
Yeah.
Because the only things that I could complain about were like my own fault,
Oh,
like submitting assignments late and stuff like that.
happens.
It's just like, yeah, I don't think that there's been much to really be upset about. Like everything's gone quite well.
But you submitted all your assignments thus far, right?
I have submitted all my assignments
There you go.
thus far.
That's what we like.
I actually had one that was meant to be due on Good Friday, and I hadn't submitted it until the Thursday after.
Woo!
But I checked the portal the day I was about to submit it, thinking I was submitting it 6 days late, and then I looked on the announcements page and it said, "Hey guys, just so you know, we're pushing back this due date by a week because I don't want to be having you submit something on a public holiday, and I don't want to read submissions on a public holiday either."
That's what we like, man. Dude, that's what we like.
And so I was like, dude, I'm a day early.
Yeah, that's what we like, man. I loved it. Like when teachers or tutors or lecturers were like, yeah, we're going to push it back. Or you'd ask them and they'd push it back. That was always the best.
Oh, really? You can do that?
If enough people make noise, yeah, the tutors are like, all right. Sometimes you had like your really hard teachers that'd be like, guys, this is a fixed date.
I can
uni
imagine
students now, you should be able to. But nah, if you ask the right teacher, yeah, sometimes it'll be like, all right, we'll give you an extra 2 days.
My only complaint would be that some of the first year subjects that I'm doing, it's like designed for 18-year-olds fresh out of school.
Okay.
But I've done uni before, so it's like really just brain dead questions.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, so how would you reference this? I'm like, why are you asking me in a workbook how to reference something?
Yeah.
So that I can show you the answers in the workbook, and then you could show you the workbook in the tutorial, and then in the tutorial we go through all the questions from the workbook anyway.
Oh, okay.
And then the assignment is basically, what are your reflections on what we've learned in the tutorials and the and the lectures and stuff? It's like, what even is this, dude?
Yep.
And you have to use our specially assigned references too. And it's like, what do you want me to write? Like, I've learned that, like, I haven't learned anything because I already knew how to do referencing. I already knew like how to compartmentalize like all these ideas and stuff like that. I know how to write an essay. Like, you don't need to hold my hand. So
starting again sucks.
Yeah.
Dude, referencing was my least favorite.
Oh no, it's horrible.
Least favorite part. Like in half of my degree, literally half, maybe even more, was report writing.
Something that's really good now, and I'm really glad that ChatGPT can just give me, like, I can be so lazy about it because I can just be like, I can't be bothered like trying to figure out how to do this, but I just say, how would I reference this thing? And if it doesn't have it, then it'll say, oh, well, that's a book. Like, what type of text is it? And then I might say, like, it's a book, or it's an article, or it's a web page or something. And then they'd be like, okay, well, you need all of these things. And then I'll just, instead of typing it out myself, I just type out like, okay, the author is this person. I put in all the information and then it puts it out for me.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. Like, that's the most lazy way to do it because
it makes sense.
You know, I could just like get that template and then replace it in myself, but I just can't be bothered.
Nah, man. Yeah, well, that's what it's there for. Like, I don't know how deep it's gotten, but I saw, my sister sent me a TikTok of this guy who, because I think ChatGPT is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, I've used it for stuff that nothing criminal, but stuff I dare not say lest people discover. But it's like, I know that with uni, for instance, right? People who use it, this one TikTok, which is the point I was getting to, that my sister sent me. It had like an AI detector. Yeah. Which I didn't know existed, man.
Yeah, it does have.
Turnitin has one?
Yeah.
Dude, so he submitted an essay that he wrote 5 minutes before, by ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And then it like, oh, it's AI
It's AI
detected. I
detected.
was like, dog, how does that?
The way that most people use ChatGPT is like super
Lazy.
brain dead and lazy. They'll just be like, write me an essay on this. And it's like, dude, that's not...
That's not
That's
it.
not going to get you
That's right.
anything that's not going to be picked up.
Yeah.
Because if anyone asks, write me an essay on this, everyone will get a fairly similar answer.
Yeah.
Whereas if you like when I have used it to sort of come up with things that are part of, like I want to rephrase something that I've already said, then I'll put it in and ask it to like frame it in a better way.
You give it parameters.
Yeah, I'll give it parameters and say like, could you write this in a more academic way?
That makes sense.
And so instead of me saying, like something that just sounds like a normal sentence, it sounds more academically inclined, and it sounds like I actually know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and there's a way about it, right? Like you get it to formulate maybe part of your essay, but then you go in, proofread it, and then.
So what I did for my most recent assessment was that I gave it the essay question and said, how can I answer this essay question? And then it gave me like 6 different pieces to say like, this is how you can approach it. These are the different things you can do to break it up. And then now I'm answering those prompts rather than just answering the question itself.
Okay. Yeah.
And so that helps me to chunk it down into smaller pieces.
Yeah. Dude, yeah.
So I found it really helpful.
That's pretty cool.
In doing my assignments without like just copy pasting an answer from ChatGPT. Like that's the least useful way, because you don't actually learn anything either.
Yeah,
it's
it's
like,
just, it feels just, I don't know, like I was very much a rule follower like back at school, so like that just felt I was bound to get caught if that existed back when I was in school, you know.
It's so easy to catch someone because it's just like, oh, well, this is just copied and pasted.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just how it works, I guess.
Yeah, good for that, man.
Today we have some pretty interesting topics to talk about.
Sure. What's on the agenda?
So on the agenda today, we briefly have the state election. We'll be talking about SpaceX Starship.
State election, the state of New South Wales.
State of New South
Australia.
Wales, yep. Australia, yep, that's the one. Just to be specific.
Yeah, we don't know about you Perth brethren or
nothing.
Northern Tasmania. We don't know.
No idea. The RBA review, they had a recent report that was like 300 pages.
Okay.
I didn't read them, but someone else did, so
Sure.
we'll be using their information.
Mm-hmm.
Indigenous voice to Parliament. There's people calling for an AI slowdown. At some point, we want to talk about Ant-Man 3 as well. Trump was indicted. Twitter dropping the state affiliation labels for some social media, or for all social media accounts that are affiliated with the states. There's a TikTok bill in America. Disney laying off 7,000 people, I think it was.
According to CNN.
Yeah. And then we'll be talking about streaming wars, and I'll be talking about a video that I watched called The Future is a Dead Mall by Folded Ideas. Hopefully we can get through all of that, but if we don't, apologies.
It is what it is.
It is.
Stay tuned for the next quarter.
Yeah. So to start off, the election. Did you vote in the election, Prosper? Are you allowed to answer that? Am I allowed to ask that?
I mean, listen. Isn't that like a thing? It is expected for all citizens to vote.
All citizens do vote, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And look, the outcome was what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it is what it is.
Chris Minns, because I know nothing about the guy.
I don't know him. I didn't mind Perrottet. I'm just glad that because in the end, like I didn't like Gladys anymore. Just felt like she turned on us during COVID. But Dominic wasn't so bad. So I wouldn't have minded if he stayed. But I kind of get it because just the way that the people have kind of just been looking at government. They want less government in their lives. And it's almost always a reaction that, like, the government we remember is probably the one that we want less of. So whether or not they were good, the Liberal Party, we won't know until the Labour Party's term is over, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. What do you think?
I know nothing about Australian politics. I've like I did like a big deep dive at the start of the year into like politics and just the rhetoric around it, but it was mainly about social issues and a little bit of American politics. So now I know what a Democrat and a Republican are, and I know like what generally what leftists and right wing people believe ish, and I know about the extremes as well.
Yeah.
But I know nothing about Australian politics, which is kind of disappointing. I just don't think that there's enough like social media or like YouTube voices on Australian politics because US politics is so pervasive. And
I like it's this is more my opinion. Like the opinion I have on Aussie politics is it's like a lot. The two parties are a lot closer than, you know what I mean? And
super mild.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. Like though I don't like the divisiveness, I almost just like to know where you stand, kind of like you would with conservatives versus liberals in America kind of thing. Here, like the whole, everyone kind of mixes into one thing. That's
if you put it on the compass, it's like both are like sort of right towards the center on a little bit to the right.
Yeah, so it's there's very little sway. Exactly, there's very little sway. So it's like, I don't know. Like thus far, it's not awful, right? Like we're not starving. So
no, I think we're doing pretty well. But then again, I don't really know what could be done better or what's not being done well enough.
Let's get another COVID and we'll see.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah. But no, like nothing. Like to be completely honest with you, I don't know. Like during the last 3 years was when I learned like, oh, okay, so not everyone is a republic or a constitutional republic. We're what's considered, I think it's a constitutional monarch with us observing the queen as the head of state, but she doesn't really have that much like ruling power other than
the king now.
Yeah, the king, sorry. Yeah. King, excuse me. Other than like deciding who the governor is, I think it is. And then like we decide the prime minister.
Yeah.
And then the governor kind of sits somewhere on the legislative branch of government.
Yeah.
I don't know about or maybe it's the executive. I'm not too sure. Actually, do we even have that in our system of government? Everyone does. You know how, like, in the U.S., they have the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. So Supreme Court, they have the House and Senate, and then they have, like, your president and your...
That's like the separation of powers, right?
Separation of powers, yeah.
Yeah, we have that. So we have the courts, we have the High Court, we have the... I don't know the other ones.
State.
We have
state
legislative... Yep. We have the like local court.
That's right.
Yeah.
But like in terms of the person who actually has the most power, I think in Australia it's the governor.
Like, I don't even know who the governor of Australia is.
Neither.
Who is the governor?
But they don't like I think
David Hurley.
There you go.
But when you say like the amount of power, like Governor General. Okay.
Governor General, yeah. Is there a difference there? Like, am I saying the wrong thing by saying governor?
Yeah, I mean Google came up with Governor General. But
okay.
I don't know. Governor General is the term that I know of.
Okay.
I didn't know about governor.
No, sure. Governor General. Yeah, that's the extent of my knowledge, and I think it's like. Governor General has the power to remove someone from a seat in
Parliament.
In Parliament.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't know. I don't know who has the right to say we can go to war. I think it's Parliament. To what degree? I don't know. Like that stuff is just it's beyond me. So I feel like I'm learning a little bit more each time, but it's just. It wasn't taught to us very well at school, maybe, or there's just not as much interest amongst us.
It's taught. I think it's kind of taught in legal studies, and that's probably about it.
Oh, okay.
Because it's like so we're a commonwealth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know how it works, to be completely honest
Well,
with you.
Commonwealth is just like what? Like a collection of, like in terms of like if you're to consider Australia the country, it's like we're part of the Commonwealth.
What does...
But specifically, we're a constitutional monarchy.
Oh, the Commonwealth of Australia is a federation of 6 states and 2 self-governing territories. The national government is the Australian government, known as the Commonwealth government. Yeah, so I think it just means that we're under British rule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, I read somewhere that we pay something like 10,000 Australian dollars per year to our head of state. So like England or the king or the queen or whatever the case is, which is something we've been doing since 1901. That's like a random fact, by the way. I don't know actually if it helps us for our discussion of...
Yeah, I don't know. Shall we move on?
Yeah.
Shall we move on to SpaceX?
Kind of, yeah.
So today, I think it was today or yesterday. I think it might have been... Yeah, it was...
Yesterday, right?
Yeah, so midnight last night.
Yeah.
In America. Obviously, it wasn't midnight in America, but...
Uh-huh.
Yeah, in the last day, there was a launch of the Starship, SpaceX's Starship, and I think what happened, about 3 minutes into the flight, the two halves of the vehicle that should have been separating were still connected and veering off course. And so 4 minutes in, it was losing altitude and a large explosion ripped across the sky, the result of computers triggering the vehicle's flight termination system. This is from the BBC.
No.
So basically, it blew up.
Yeah.
But I think it was like planned.
Okay.
So it had to be terminated because...
Yeah, that was part of the abort sequence. So.
Yeah, they were aborting it because it was not flying where it needed to be flying.
Yeah.
So no one was hurt, which is good. And yeah, it was pretty interesting because it's their first official like launch test. And everyone seems to be saying that it was a success, that it should be seen as a success.
Sure. Yeah, like I don't know about rockets and
about
stuff. I saw a bunch of YouTube thumbnails yesterday, but I didn't I didn't follow up on it. But yeah, I like the fact that like he's following his convictions. He wants to occupy a part of space before he dies, and like for many of us, just like we don't care, right? But for him, it's like,
yeah,
this is it. Like that's his. He almost feels like it's his life mission. So that bit about him, I really like. So
it's pretty ambitious, very ambitious. But he does have a lot of money to back his ambitions. So
yeah, he's worked hard, man.
Him?
Yeah. Well, I think it's just like he's kind of like worked hard, and like even the people that kind of view him as like this oddball, it's it's him. That's the stuff he's interested in. He's interested in for like flamethrowers and electric cars and going to space, and
he's a funny bloke.
Yeah, dude. Like all of us, I got my weird interests. So
he can do his weirdness because he's like just being himself.
Yeah,
it's fair enough.
Yeah, he's not harming no one.
You'd hope not.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure SpaceX and Tesla try and be pretty ethical with their employment and stuff, right?
Yeah.
He did lay off a whole bunch of people from Twitter.
Bunch of people, but Facebook's been doing it, and now we're reading Disney's laying off a bunch. So
yeah, big.
It's not just him.
Layoff.
Yeah, not just him.
Yeah, we also had the RBA trying to review things.
Yeah. And
interesting thing about that is, what do you know about the Reserve Bank of Australia?
Yeah, dog, I don't know. Like, this all just seems like bureaucracy on bureaucracy. It's like there was this governing party that will control the interest rates, right? Like like what we pay in interest, but then
Well, they control what the banks pay.
What the
in
bank's
interest.
paying. Okay, right. Like
So
the money paid
there's
banked from.
the cash rate is basically like when the banks do all of their accounts clearing transactions overnight. What is the rate at which they are charged interest?
Okay.
That's what the cash rate is.
Yeah, right.
So then the banks will base their interest rates on how much they have to pay in those interest rates.
Yep.
Overnight.
And would they base it on them breaking even or profiting?
Oh, they probably want to profit.
They probably want to profit, right? Yeah, right.
Because like the
I don't know the legalities behind it. This is
so
the reason.
the way that a bank works is that they charge interest because they need to make sure they always have a little bit more money than what is in the banks, which makes no sense when you explain it that way.
There was a really interesting like graphic that I saw that of how I think they were discussing like $1,000 transaction, or it might have been more, and just how it moves from like one bank to like another, and it just doesn't stay still. The money never stays still.
It's always going around to other places because banks are giving out loans and being given money and stuff like that. Yeah. And like you saw, did you see in Silicon Valley, the Bank of Silicon Valley like collapsed because they just didn't have the backing.
That's right.
To support what they were letting people store, and then it was like, was it interest rates changed or something, or inflation, or something happened, and then basically everyone was like, hey, we all need to withdraw our money, and they didn't have enough money in reserve to actually give everyone what they needed.
But I think they've been bailed out, right?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe they were. I didn't look into that.
If I recall, they were like the top 20 largest banks in America, and I think they got bailed out. But
probably.
I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest.
Yeah.
But the Reserve Bank, they had a little report.
Okay.
There was a review by the treasurer into what the Reserve Bank is doing. Yeah. And they had a problem with the way that the cash rate was changing. So when they reviewed it, wait, where was the article that I was reading before?
A problem with the cash rate. Oh, okay.
No, like they wanted to split the RBA board into two sections, because basically, how would you? It's like the people that were in the meetings to determine what the cash rate is. The two different like sections that they wanted to split it in were all sitting together, like making that decision, and they're worried about like people having different like ulterior motives as to like why they'll agree with a decision or disagree with a decision.
Okay,
but
we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, so for a couple of reasons to ensure there's a greater diversity of views. This is on ABC. They want to review it because it doesn't allow for sufficient scrutiny or challenging of the RBA's economic and financial judgments. Okay. Which makes a lot of sense. Like if you've just got like a big group of people and they're like, oh, yes, I think this is the right decision.
I think this is great.
I think we should keep the cash rate as it is or change it to this other thing, and then everyone else is just like, yeah, I agree with you, Mr. Boss Man.
No one's there to challenge
right.
it.
It's like no one's scrutinizing or going, oh, actually, like this is bad. But it's like if you have two groups, then that might open up chance for people who were scared to share to open up. But like, I don't know anything about the people who are on the boards or what they're like. Yeah. So I wouldn't really have any.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes, right?
Yeah. But hopefully that helps. I mean, if the treasurer has problems with it and wants to see it change, then
let's do it.
Probably.
I'm not
good
the
idea.
treasurer. Yeah.
But yes. There's also been talk about the referendum they want to do for the Indigenous voice to Parliament, and
Right.
basically they want to get a group of 24 people that will be like a advisory body for the government, and they're like representing different regions of Australia and stuff like that. And they want to like put that into the constitution to say that there's these people who are like the voice of First Nations Australians, to try and make sure that we're tackling issues.
Aren't they
relating to them.
self-governed communities?
Not well. That's every single Indigenous community is different. Like every different First Nations group is pretty diverse. Like the Australian distribution of like First Nation tribes and people.
But that's what
like
I mean. Like by like in
diverse.
asking that, it's like, aren't they all given that ability to like govern themselves within their different like I don't know, tribes? Would you say, if you will?
I guess tribes or their mobs. Mobs would be the
Okay,
word.
yeah.
I don't know.
But like, yeah, haven't they kind of been given that power to kind of it's almost operate outside of?
I mean, like any community can do that, right? Any community can like quote unquote govern themselves.
But but it's like we can't decide to. So like, you know how you have your traditional custodians, we can't decide to say, all right, this is Camden, and like people can't come in here and like camp overnight and that kind of like we live
but
different from
they
that.
don't have like, if you have like an elder or a custodian of the land, it's not I don't necessarily know if they have the same power as like a government official, in that they can say, like, it depends where you're talking about. Like if you're talking about somewhere where people are literally living off the land and living the way that their ancestors have.
Yeah.
And they're sort of like kind of untouched by
so that's what I
like those groups would probably be like self-governing in that way.
Right.
But the Indigenous people who live in Western Sydney,
Yeah.
they probably aren't like quote unquote self-governing.
Also, that's specifically the people that are like
that's not the only people. They've got like people from all different states and different regions.
Yeah.
And they want to have people from regional areas as well to represent the different needs of Indigenous people in regional areas. But I think the aim is to try and give First Nations people a voice in issues that regard them. Because it's like, if I was like, if it was like a whole room of like white people, and I was like, okay, let's try and figure out what to do about Tanzanian people moving to Australia. How are we going to help all the Tanzanian people? And it's like every single Tanzanian person is going to get like this reward when they come to our country for boosting our economy by joining our country. And then like the reward is like something that I as a white person think is really helpful, but someone coming from Tanzania might be like, why would you give me this? I don't know what the example would be.
Yeah.
'Cause it's just like,
Sure.
But like the idea of like someone who is from a certain culture trying to speak on behalf of someone else is different to that person having a say and having a seat at the table to be like, hey, I think that my community would really benefit by this policy being enacted. Or if they're like talking about a certain policy, they could pipe up and be like, hey, if you apply this, just think about the fact that it'll affect my mob in XYZ ways. And so having people who are from those actual communities who've lived there on the ground and they know what it's like to have governments do stupid things to them, they're like a very helpful voice in terms of determining what the government can do. At least it's like a step forward. I don't think it's nearly enough to like fix the damage that's been done, but I think that it's a step in the right direction.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. No, like I generally like didn't I've been seeing it on the news, but I haven't really understood what it is, but yeah, from the sounds of it, it's just, people seeking more representation in Parliament, right? So
yeah, and it's not necessarily representation in the actual Parliament. It's like having people who can give advisory counsel to the Parliament. So it's not even like in terms of the actual power that they have, they're not like part of the Parliament. They're like talking to the Parliament and saying, "Hey, you should consider this."
Their influence on legislature isn't like, "Oh, we're going to vote on this." It's more just like you were saying, advisory. It's like they can talk to people of party A, party B, and then see if they can come to some kind of middle ground. If you okay,
so if you were like really progressive, you'd probably still have a problem with this because it's like, oh well, they're getting a voice, but they're not getting a seat in the decision making.
Okay,
which is like, okay, if you're going to force the seats to be taken up by certain people and then like have diversity laws, it's like, okay, wouldn't that make it not necessarily as democratic? But then the counter argument is like systemic issues of like people who are from those communities might not have the same access to education as the people who have managed to get into those positions. So it's sort of like there is a bit of a tension there to be made because both sides have good points, and it's sort of like we still want to keep it democratic, and we probably do want to be giving better educational opportunities to people in disadvantaged communities. It's like, yes, both people have good points that we need to like work on as a society.
I want to see how it plays out.
Yeah, me too.
I'm just gonna watch from a distance.
It frustrates me when people get outraged at like, oh my gosh, you want to have a referendum? So you're going to make sure, like, put into the Constitution that Indigenous people need to be part of the Parliament. And it's like, okay, first of all, you don't even know what they're asking for in the Constitution because that's not what it's asking for. Right, and secondly, like, why would it be such a problem that like people who are in disadvantaged communities have some form of voice as to what happens to them?
Right.
Like,
okay. Oh, is that the outrage that's currently happening right now?
That's some of the rhetoric that I've heard from some people.
Oh, okay.
And I'm just like, I don't necessarily think that's.
Yeah.
I think it's a really uncharitable way of viewing, like what is actually being voted on.
Okay. Yeah. No. I haven't heard any of the discourse that's taking place. I've just seen that it's like being reported on like both sides of the media as like yay or nay kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, but
yeah, for sure.
I definitely do not understand what's happening. I'm just
legit
kind of a witness.
It's just something it's I think studying social work has made me a lot more of a like person that cares about just we need to help people and stuff because people are going through crap that is not good.
Yeah, I got you.
But then like when I hear people like being full social justice warrior, I'm like, I just sort of cringe because I'm like, oh, like I don't know, you're trying to like speak on behalf of people that aren't really saying what you're saying, and I don't necessarily know if they care about what you're getting upset about.
Yeah.
So it's sort of
no, it's a bit like I just don't think. I don't think people's like what people want is that aligned. If that makes sense. Like,
it's not like this monolith.
Yeah, I'm more just saying like if I was to get like a group of people that wanted like democracy, right, and they're like, oh, let's have the people decide kind of thing. I just don't know how. What do you call it? I don't know that they'd all come to like an agreement of like, oh yeah, we all want this one thing. Like, that's why like just looking at that, I'm like the difference between.
Are you talking about like Indigenous people specifically, or just in general?
No, just in general.
Okay.
Yeah, I still don't understand the voice thing. I'm more just saying like when it comes to making decisions and people getting outraged by like how we should make decisions in society as like a democracy, and even what you were talking about with like social justice and stuff. It's like I think what I like about a system like a republic is that like autonomy or even just like what you own is valued above all else. But democracy is always good because then it determines kind of like basic principles that everyone has to be governed by kind of thing. So yeah,
it's kind
of went on a tangent there. Sorry.
No, fair enough. No, I appreciate your thoughts on that.
Yeah,
I think that it also is a good point to think of in terms of even within that legislature or that putting that in the Constitution. It's easy to get those ideas about if we hear these Indigenous voices, then we're going to know what every Indigenous person thinks. It's that's not how it works.
Yeah.
It's now you're just doing the racism thing where it's every person in this group is just the same, right?
That's right.
What?
You're bunching it all together, and it's in trying to solve the problem, you might have actually even made
it worse.
Yeah, you might have really annoyed some people on that side that you're trying to serve. It's that kind of thing. So it gets complex.
Maybe in their community, the person that they've chosen for that voice group, no one in their community likes them.
No one likes them, or they represent 50% of that community, and the other 50% is just we don't like this at all. You know what I mean? It just gets complex then. So it's just I don't know. That's where having a constitution that observes the rights of an individual, that's just really powerful, because it's in the U.S. Constitution it talks about inalienable rights given to you by God, right? It's
seeing every person complexly as an individual rather than you are your group identity.
That's right.
It's so much more important into understanding how to relate with others. You can't just group someone.
And then from there, that's when you kind of make those laws. But yeah, once again, I have no clue how this voice for parliament thing is going to go. It's an interesting thing that they brought up, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that might come out of it. Maybe good, maybe bad. Who knows? There have been calls for a slowdown of AI. Computers need to. So a lot of different tech leaders have been saying that we need to pump the brakes on artificial intelligence because it's doing too much and it's getting too good at what it does. And there's this article on Vox talking about AI's alignment problem. You get what you ask for, not what you want. It's just this is talking about the different objections that people have. Technological progress is inevitable, and trying to slow it down is futile. This is a myth that the tech industry tells itself and the rest of us. If we don't build it, someone else will, so we might as well do it.
I saw the first real problem that I didn't even think about the other day. There was a mom in the States, the state of Arizona, who reported that it was I think it was a ransom thing. So this kidnapper claimed to have her daughter. Yeah, so she's on the phone with him and talking about transfer this amount of money, that kind of thing, right? So she then asked to have the daughter on the phone, and she hears the daughter. It's like, "Mom, please, this and that." And I think she knew something was off, or whatever the case was. Anyway, it turns out that the kidnapper was using voice scam, it was voice scamming. That it wasn't actually the daughter.
Voice filter.
AI voice filter. And mom was saying, it sounded like my daughter and everything. It's just it wasn't her.
Yeah.
I was like, dog.
Yeah, my dad was talking about that. He was talking about how the phone scams can get so much worse because you could have an AI thing make 1,000 calls at one time and just have a fake voice that sounds like a real person.
Oh, okay.
Have you had those those robot calls that you can tell it's a robot?
Yeah.
Those are so easy to you hear it and you just hang up. But if someone calls you and it sounds like a normal person and it's I've got a call. It's you see have you seen those memes where it's Donald Trump and Obama and Biden playing Minecraft together and stuff? There's AI voice filter things where people do that. And it's kind of funny because it's like, they're not actually playing it. So like if I got a phone call and it was like Donald Trump, it's like, I know this is not actually Donald Trump. I know it's AI.
That's right.
But if it's like a phone call and it's my brother.
Yeah. You wouldn't know
start
if
saying
it's...
all this stuff. I wouldn't know that it's not my brother.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I need you to like send me money, but I need you to send it to this account instead. I got a new account.
Yeah. It could get very complex, right?
Yeah. And if it has like enough AI reasoning that like it can understand what you say and respond fast enough, then you don't even need to have some bloke like in some other country who's scamming you to understand English. He just needs to get his AI to understand English. And so he doesn't know he might not know how to like reason with someone who's like picking up on his scamming.
But he doesn't.
Because like, have you talked to those guys who do those scam calls? 100%. It's like so easy to outsmart them.
Yeah.
Because like they're speaking in second language.
That's right.
And they're like trying to reason with like a lie. Whereas if this AI is like trying to reason you through like, oh, well, this is why I need you to send me this money, it's going to be much better at like coming up with thing that'll convince you.
It can present like really valid reasons, kind of.
Yeah.
Thing. Yeah.
It's still not going to be like perfect because it's gonna like if it moves around too much and goes, oh well, I need it for this, and then like you ask, and then it's like actually I need it for this other thing. Then you start to pick up on like, oh, this is a scam. But
that's right.
Yeah,
that's tough,
scary.
Man. Yeah, dude. Yeah, we're gonna have to. I don't know. It's just like a whole new thing. Like, couple 100 years ago, this isn't even something that somebody would have thought is like a problem. No. 100 years ago, they were fighting off polio and boiling their meat, and then now it's like we have all this technology in the world to help us, but it can kind of also scam us.
Yeah, I mean, GPT-4 is like crazy.
I still haven't used GPT. Like I don't want to pay for them, man.
I signed up for it.
Yeah, how is it?
It's freaking amazing.
Is it?
You only get 25 messages every 3 hours, but 25 is heaps.
That's plenty, man.
It's like really powerful, especially compared to like GPT-3.
Really?
It's slower, but I actually like it being slower because I can sort of read it as it comes. Whereas GPT 3.5, it just like
dumps it all at once.
It all out. And I'm like, hang on, now I have to scroll back and read it again.
Dude, yeah.
But yeah, it's just like the way that it's developing. It is quite concerning.
Do you think something like this overtake? Because Google's now got their Google Bard, and that's like
Google Bard.
Yeah, Google Bard. It's like their whole AI thing.
I have not used Google Bard. Oh, yeah. I can. Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, though.
Yeah. So sorry. What?
So
what
in
was
America,
the actual question?
Oh, it's more just like what Google was like the big thing in like the early 2000s. It was like everyone kind of just doubted it and said, "Oh, why use Google? You have encyclopedias, you have the library. This makes no sense." And then all of a sudden, it's like now it's a verb, like to Google something. Is the AI thing like now gonna is it gonna overtake, like make Google irrelevant, do you think? I think
that if it has its downsides and its upsides, because Google, I saw Hank Green talk about it, and he was talking about how like if Google starts to implement AI into its systems, it will start to make websites redundant, which means that all of the resources that are informing the AI are going to slowly decrease and decrease and decrease. Because, like, you think about it, the reason that web pages exist is because you have search engine operated, like you have SEO, and you have like a way to find that website by searching like the keywords and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so the websites will do all they can to try and optimize SEO so that their thing comes up in your search. If they're starting to be made redundant by people creating AI things, then less pages will be trying to get your click from the search.
And you're essentially
So there
killing like
won't
a
be as
whole
many.
business model at that point too,
Exactly.
because they're dependent on like advertisements and such,
Yeah.
and people.
Because all of the different web pages, yeah, exactly. They're paid by the advertisements, and now you're just getting the raw information without any of the advertising, putting it into a AI thing, and then pumping out an answer.
That's right.
What's their incentive to keep on producing that information?
There's a few different ways you could go about it. Like you could
You start putting ads on the AI now.
well, it's like you could make it a subscription kind of based model,
true.
kind of like you would like with your YouTube, like how YouTube's done it.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. But it like I was just thinking about it the other day. Like I right now, my life is completely unaffected by AI. I've used it twice in the last 3 months.
Yeah, no,
Like
I use it heaps.
Yeah, you use the heaps, right? So it's like for me, I'm like that old head from 2000 that's going like, oh yeah, this Google thing, just go to a library, but like it might overtake me where it's like all of a sudden it just jumps on me.
I think that the AI stuff is very helpful for very specific solutions. So like the thing that I found really frustrating is I know that whenever I'm looking for something that's after like 2022, I think, or even is it 2021? I don't remember where ChatGPT's knowledge ends, but it has a certain end date. And I know that anything that like is related to after that date is going to be very difficult for me to get ChatGPT to tell me something about it.
Interesting.
That's very frustrating to me because sometimes I'll have questions and then I have to Google it and then scroll through like a whole bunch of things to find the answer to my question.
Right.
Whereas if I'm like, oh gosh, I've forgotten how to reference in APA, then I'll go like, how do I reference in APA 7th for a book? And then it'll just tell me, and it'll like give me all this, and then I can just like, okay, and then I can type in like the author and stuff like that. But like if my question is really specific, so one of the questions I had yesterday, no, it was today. I was trying to figure out what the different steps are after you sort of, when you're talking about someone with depression and anxiety, there's a technique called like cultivating the observer, where you like observe your state of mind and your feelings and your like physical, like what how your body's reacting, like your heartbeat might be faster or whatever. And it helps you to be grounded in the situation. But I was like telling my friend about this strategy, and the response was, oh, but like now that I've observed, what do I do next? And I didn't have an answer. And I knew if I searched that on Google, I'd get like all these annoying, like sort of kind of half answer my question, but not really.
Yeah, it's sort of related.
But instead, what I did was I typed into ChatGPT, okay, when cultivating the observer, what should be the first step to do that? And then what are the tools?
I see.
Then, like,
So it's
what
like
can someone do once they've made those observations?
the missing link is like that.
It's like getting all the different pieces of information off different web pages or different resources, and then compiling it into something that makes sense as an actual answer to the question that was asked. Whereas SEO, it just gets keywords and goes, well, someone's written an article about this. Does this meet your question? It's like, not
kind of
really.
makes you come to your own summary based on like research that you actually have to do manually.
Yeah.
Whereas ChatGPT,
it's got a big database of all this information. And so if I'm like, what about someone with schizophrenia?
Yeah.
Not that I know anyone with it, but it's like if I was trying to... And now it's giving me all these different approaches to how to help someone with schizophrenia. Yeah. And that happens straight away. I don't have to search up how do I deal with schizophrenia and then like do some quiz and like read through all these articles. It just has all of these things.
Yeah.
And then I can ask it, can you give me the references
and
for these ideas? And then it'll say, these are some references.
Jeez, man. That's
and
crazy.
It tells me those, like, just all these papers that are on the ideas that it presented.
Yeah.
It's just like
For the people, like it's literally just showing him all the references as he's typed in. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's got a whole bunch of references. So I could probably look them up and find them. Sometimes it makes stuff up.
Sure.
So like sometimes it just makes up a name and makes up a title. But I've found with GPT-4, when I've asked it questions and asked it to give references, when I search up that reference, it comes up and it's perfectly normal.
Yeah.
But GPT 3.5 sometimes just makes up people and makes up papers, or like mixes up titles with different authors and stuff.
All right.
It can get a bit funny. But I think GPT-4 is fine. But it's just like, the fact that it can just compile all this information and there's no need for finding that Reddit thread from 2007 that someone answered your obscure tech problem.
Yeah.
Instead, you describe to ChatGPT,
that's right,
I'm having this problem with my computer.
Yeah.
What do I do? And then it might be able to come up with something. It might not.
Yeah.
Depends on the problem, but it's more likely to come to something that's actually helpful rather than scrolling through pages and pages and pages of other people's problems with other things. If that makes sense.
No, I get you. Like an immediate thing I can kind of think of is like if I'm coding my website and
coding is
like
great.
you know. You'll just tell me like, oh yeah, this is where, like if there's a bug in there or something, or I might tell it to like clean up my CSS or whatever the case is. Like you could.
Sometimes it's not very good. Sometimes it doesn't produce code that works or produces code.
Right.
That's a bit bad.
Even version 4?
I don't know. My dad's a programmer, so he's done that a lot with a lot of his stuff, and so his experience has been that like. Most of the time, it makes something that's pretty good, but sometimes it's not. It
just misses the mark. Okay.
Yeah. But like, once it gets a bit better, like it'll probably be better than just a human programmer, which is kind of depressing.
Might
for
be.
The programmers.
It might just be.
But then they'll just be programming the AIs instead, I guess.
Yeah, dude. I don't know what the future kind of looks like.
Yeah.
Robot wars, man.
Robot wars, legit. We be living iRobot.
Well, like I'm just seeing like something like this happening with what would be really scary is like those like little Japanese robots that get like they present at like this tech shows like CES and stuff. Yeah, like one of those being integrated with ChatGPT, like a voice version. So it's like every time I speak, it kind of knows how to. But then the trick there is like getting the mechanical functions to cooperate. So it's like if I tell it to get me a glass of water, it can very much understand me, but having that program done like mechanically, that's the next step.
Yeah.
From there. Jeez, man.
Yeah, no, embodied AI is going to be much more difficult to...
Yeah. And a lot of like the stuff that like Boston Dynamics are doing, that's very... it sounds a lot, or it looks a lot like the embodied AI, if that's what I'm describing. Have you seen Boston Dynamics? They do the stuff with like those robot dogs in the...
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes, I've seen those. Yeah, they got one of the police robot dogs.
Yeah, they get crazy stuff, bro. But yeah, man.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. So maybe we're slowing down AI. Who knows?
We'll see.
It might be good to slow it down.
Yeah.
Shall we move on?
Sure.
Ant-Man 3.
Yeah. I don't want to stay on this too long.
Do you want to go straight to spoilers? Because it's been long enough. It's been a few months.
Yeah, if you haven't watched it now, it'll be on Disney Plus. You're not missing much. I don't want to stay on it too long, but like I didn't love the movie.
It's pretty disappointing.
Yeah, like it's so strange because what we're not saying is that these actors and the directors are bad, but they certainly haven't
a good job. But it's like it's just not that great.
This isn't average. It, man. Yeah, like if you look at like what got you excited about the Marvel movies, I think it's like a lot of that excitement. It's a lot of the excitement of the original Marvel movies and the close to reality aspect of these movies has been taken away. So everything from like now, everything is in. It's like even the quantum realm. That's fine, I guess, but it just feels like there's too much of this happening. Quantum realm and then space battles and that kind of thing, and transporting between portals.
That's your problem with it?
That's the beginning. But then the other part is like even with like these nanites and stuff, like the suit transformations and stuff. It feels like very lazy filmmaking because it's like you're taking
CGI out the department.
That's right. CGI is the answer. CGI is we're basing the whole movie, so we don't need to go on location. We have CGI.
They've just got lazy ways of doing the filmmaking. Yeah, that's fair.
I mean? So that's the
very expensive too, and very labor intensive on the people producing the CGI, which is kind of sad.
It's like but it's
there's a bunch of like strikes within the
It's like how much of a crutch should it be? Like remember the original Iron Man suit transformations? It's like you saw the full mechanical thing, and it was like clamping onto his armor.
And that probably took a lot of CGI, but it was like very, very detailed CGI. Whereas because of how much they need to do now, it's like you don't have time to put in a detailed effort onto this guy's suit because it's going to be there for 3 seconds. So it's fine if like it's just nanites and it just appears.
But it's like nanites with everything. I was fine with it. Like when it was introduced in Infinity War, it was great, right? But then now it's like it's the Black Panther suit has it.
Yeah, every single suit is
Ant-Man suit has it with the helmet. I don't mind
the
any
thing
of that.
they like hit the thing on their chest and
it just like that. It frustrates me only because it's like it now doesn't even feel like what it once was. It
wasn't
real.
special. It like because that was like a special thing
that's right.
Iron Man had like worked over years to like develop this really cool technology, and then now just like everyone just sort of has it.
Yeah, everyone has these nanites, and everyone has like it's. I think it's too much of a crutch now, and maybe they're setting like with what you were talking about with the like strikes that they're getting, and like even the complaints that they're getting from like these like the CGI teams that are developing everything. With stuff like the TV shows, maybe they're just setting unrealistic goals.
Oh yeah, for sure.
About like
I think people are just getting exhausted by how much content is coming out of Marvel anyway.
Yeah,
like,
and it's not that great. Well, Robert Iger, the new Disney CEO, he made a statement about slowing that down. I think I'm paraphrasing, but he made a comment about quality over quantity kind of thing. Let me see here. Bob Iger. Disney's Bob Iger says the company will focus on quality over quantity for movies and TV shows. Because, obviously, they've just been getting like a lot of criticism. He said that in March. I'm not mad at that. Like, I don't want the Marvel shows to end, but if there's something I maybe won't mind back. Loki wasn't awful.
Yeah. Loki was good.
WandaVision wasn't bad. If anything, I'd probably scrap one of those, keep that What If. What If I liked.
Yeah, What If was pretty good.
I don't think I need more of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Oh, no. Yeah, we didn't.
Yeah. I don't think I need more. Like, it was good. Fine, I should say, but I don't think I need more of it.
Right. It's just nothing. And the way they did MODOK was pretty disappointing.
Yeah, like I was expecting like a big build, like not even a big build up, but when he came up, I was like, oh geez, like I remember hearing about this guy, and he's like pretty powerful, but he just felt like a side character.
Because he's usually part of AIM, and he's like meant to be one of Iron Man's sort of nemesises.
What's his relationship with Dr. Doom?
Oh, they're always doing like super evil team ups and stuff. But MODOK is like he's like the head of AIM because he like kills the head of AIM or something. I don't know. But they do like they're like basically arms dealers, essentially. But yeah, the way they did MODOK was really just pretty average. It's just like he's just some guy who's been turned into a robot who is vaguely angry at the world or something. And then at the end, he is vaguely not angry and he wants to be good. So he sacrifices himself or something like that. It was just like, okay, cool.
The movies. not to get too sidetracked, the movies I specifically have not liked, my bad, in the last few years from Marvel, The Eternals. That was me specifically. I know a lot of people liked it. I wasn't a fan.
Oh, no. No, a lot of people did not like that movie.
Okay, cool. The Eternals. I didn't like Thor.
Oh, Thor 4 was horrible.
That was some...
He's trying too hard to be funny.
Yeah, but it was like the complete... I don't want to say opposite. Thor 3 felt like we're going on a good arc. And then 4 was almost like, all right, you completely missed what we liked about it. And then in an interview, Taika said, like... I think he almost just went completely ignorant on, like, he said that we're just going to ignore the source material for Thor 4. I said that sounds very...
It's just a waste. Like, what are you doing?
But it's
what are we even doing here?
I'm not even, like, that big a comic fan. And, like, that frustrated me because it's like, well, what is the rule about these then? Like, if we can just make up the rules about what Thor is and how he acts, and what's the point of keeping any of the stuff consistent with...
I think most of it followed with the story, because she does have cancer, and then, like in the comics, she does get cancer, and then becomes Lady Thor and stuff.
Yeah.
Or she just becomes
Thor.
Thor.
So you're saying that it was followed then? So
it was followed, but a lot of the jokes were kind of tone deaf. Like, it was too much trying to be a comedy. When it was like when it needed to just be like a little bit serious. Yeah. Whereas Ragnarok sort of towed that line a little bit better. Yeah. Like, it still was funny, but they still knew when to be serious.
Delivered like a lot. Like, I probably could have even done with less humor, but in terms of like where that ranked.
In Ragnarok.
Yeah, Ragnarok. Well, but in terms of how that ranked compared to the previous Thor movies, give me Ragnarok. All day, every day, right?
Yeah, Ragnarok was so much more engaging than the Dark World.
Yeah,
because it's like even the funny moments that were like, I don't even remember anything that happened in the Dark World other than there were vaguely some sort of portals where they were like falling through, and there's some elves that are evil or something, and they want one of the Infinity Stones, but it's not an Infinity Stone; it's like a sludge. And then they're going to make the world dark or something because they're dark elves and they're like darkness. I don't know. Like, it's just like, I barely even remember what happened in that movie. And Thor 1 was like, all right.
It's fine.
But it's just like...
It's very much a movie of that time, like how it was made. Yeah.
But the comedy moments in those movies, it's like they barely landed it. Yeah. But at least the jokes in Ragnarok actually landed.
Yeah, he wasn't that. Like, he wasn't... Like, in 1 and 2, he was this brooding figure who was always very... Like, it didn't... It's almost like they didn't take an artistic license with Thor to make him just a little bit different. Give him a bit more character and a bit more relatable. Thor 3 did that, and I would have liked it to kind of...
Just stay at the same level
stay at the same level at least, or, you know...
But he just became like a clown.
Yeah.
And everyone was a clown in that
couple
movie.
1,000-year-old clown. Like, it's just... It didn't work, man. And the other movie, I forgot to say, and this is going to be controversial because I know either you like it or Jacob liked it. I was not a fan of this movie. Shang-Chi.
Oh, yeah, Shang-Chi was...
I wasn't a fan, man. I didn't like it. I would have wanted to like it, but you know what it is, man? Maybe it's nostalgia, but I think the pinnacle might have been Civil War. Captain America Civil War. That's probably my favorite, if you will, Avengers movie, even though it wasn't an Avengers movie.
Civil War was...
But maybe even before that, you could even say like Winter Soldier was really good. But that it just felt it felt closer to the reality and the character development of what these heroes go through. Like a Captain America.
It was very down to earth. Whereas, like, I think Infinity War is pretty up there.
That's where I think it might have even peaked. or like it started.
But Infinity War wasn't necessarily like in that down to earth type of vibe, whereas Civil War was like these are real people with like real like motives, and they have problems with each other, and they're sorting that out.
Yeah,
I think I didn't really understand it at the time, whereas I think if I rewatched it, I think we had this conversation in another episode, but I'd probably appreciate it more than I did back then when I was just wanting like lasers and
lasers. Yeah, no, for me, like I just watching it like now, I'm like, wow, like I really liked the journey of like seeing Steve Rogers try and sometimes fail to save his friend and like have to be on the run. Like there was real moral questions being asked in those movies, right? But then, like in these ones, it just doesn't feel that way.
No, there's no moral questions. It's like the closest thing to a moral question was right at the end of Ant-Man. He's like, wait a second. He said that there was more bad versions of him. I wonder if that's a thing. Oh well.
Yeah.
And it's like yeah, okay, you're getting the audience to think about that and be like, oh, I guess there's going to be a whole lot of bad Kangs.
Yeah.
Which well, with Jonathan Majors getting into some
hopefully that gets resolved.
Muddy water. Hopefully he didn't commit those crimes like his lawyer is claiming.
Yep.
But more people are coming out about it, so
we'll see how it goes.
Who knows what's going to happen?
But yeah, my main issue with those films is just like they have enough characters that they've introduced that they don't necessarily, in my opinion, I don't know, I'm not the Russo brothers or Feige, they don't need to go the super reality route. Like, sorry, not super reality. The time like travel, supernatural stuff. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. Like that.
I mean, that's what superheroes are, though, right? That's how the comics get like they escalate the stakes.
I think what I'm trying to communicate
like
is
cosmic stakes.
The cosmic, but like the Captain America movies, I haven't not liked a single one of them. But the reason being is just because those felt obviously like that wouldn't happen in real life. But as far as close to reality, those were like it. Where it's like, oh, okay. Like
it's just that when you diversify the market and put more and more of these superheroes, there was the novelty of having these superheroes cross over. That was the Avengers, right?
Yeah.
So now they're trying to find other ways to introduce novelty to the situation.
Yeah.
Because just as much as having more and more cosmic odds and cosmic stakes at hand can be now exhausting, because it's like, okay, they saved the universe, Spider-Man saved the multiverse, Doctor Strange saved the multiverse, now we have Ant-Man saving the quantum realm, and it's like, okay, we get it. Everyone's saving different universes and stuff. Whatever. Like, it's boring now.
Yeah.
The same way that we're bored of that now is the same way that we were bored back in like 2005 when there was like 10 different superheroes at one time. It's like you had your Superman, you had your Batman, you had your Daredevil, you had your Spider-Man. They're all telling origin stories of these characters, and then going, oh, a superhero has a love interest and he saves the city from a bad thing happening. And it's like, okay, we've heard this story before.
Yeah.
So it's like we're getting to the point where we do need novelty.
Okay.
And it might be found in like exploring a down to earth character.
Sure.
But whatever they do to make it interesting, they need to change the formula, because everything has been using the same formula of escalation and the same formula of
I think that's
interest.
Maybe I put it this way, because what you said was correct. I think more of what I'm trying to say is I don't mind having superheroes do crazy things, but in them changing the formula, maybe even like assess what the market is doing, like how the market is reacting to these other movies, and then make movies like that. So for me,
everyone loved the Batman.
Like these neo-noirs are amazing. I don't understand. Like, maybe there's a shortage of directors that make them really good, or maybe that's not the direction that people want to go. But that type of stuff infused with a superhero movie, I would love.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And
So the multiverse stuff. Sorry to cut you.
No, go for it.
Like the multiverse stuff can be executed really well because you look at something like Everything Everywhere All at Once. Did you see the Oscars? They won like 7 awards.
I still haven't watched this movie, bro. I bought it.
They won like 7 different awards, and so like you can. Sure, you can say but it's just an indie movie, like whatever. But it's like they won like 7 Oscars. Like it's pretty significant. Not that I really care about or respect the Oscars, but like the format that they used, it's all this multiversal stuff, but it's still one family.
Yeah.
And what happens to them, and it's like about like their relationships and like what it's like to be a family,
right? And
what it's like to support your family, and just like the different ways that parents can mess up, and like it explores that dynamic between a parent and a child. And I just found it really like meaningful because they weren't just trying to tell some crazy story where crazy stuff happens. They were trying to tell a meaningful story with crazy stuff happening, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's very interesting. Yeah. And I think I haven't watched the movie, so I'm not able to say like.
But like even with the Batman, right?
Yeah.
It's like that movie is not just about like Bruce Wayne is Batman and he's doing stuff. It's like the meaning of it digs deeper to like there's this guy who could be doing a lot for his city with the money that he has, and instead he dresses up as a bat and tries to fight crime by beating people up. That's right. That's kind of weird.
Yeah. But dude, there's something to that. Like with what I was saying, kind of like with neo noirs and stuff. It's like a lot of them they kind of blur the lines between like good guys and bad guys, and like you'll see a good guy who's very clearly the good guy doing stuff that the bad guys doing. You're like, but what? Like I thought only bad guys were. Once upon a time, it was like bad guys break arms, bad guys kill people, but. That's not the case with like
even the way that Riddler thinks that Batman is on his side.
Yeah.
And it's like, hang on. Batman is doing all of this stuff to help. He's like, oh, we're a team. We're not a team.
Not a team.
I watched it the other day. I was like, bro, this movie is so good.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, like that stuff gets me excited because it's like that's how you get the response out of people. Like it should be a commentary on subconsciously, I should look at it and just go like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, are they talking? It's almost like they're talking to you about this stuff. It's like
when you try and be a hero, sometimes you make things worse.
That's right. It's like, all right, do you try to do good but end up doing bad, kind of thing? And like, when does that happen? It's like, I don't know, the duality of these characters and stuff like that. I think that's stuff that's yet to be explored.
Yeah. 100%.
It's sort of been touched on in some of these movies by getting villains who sort of have these justifiable kind of reasons why they're going after their thing. Thanos.
But now that's getting sort of tired at this point.
Yeah, well, I don't think they explored it well enough. I would love to get to the end of like one of these movies and end up supporting the villain instead of supporting the hero, if that makes sense. So like Namor versus Black Panther. Kind of thing. I think that's a really huge opportunity for if you write the story in a different way. I didn't hate the movies. I should say
they could have implemented that better, like to get the audience to like Namor, because still by the end you
like Black Panther, and it's a Black Panther movie.
Yeah,
but it's just one of those things where it's like that type of writing, as complex as it is, I don't know that it's been explored, and it's really hard with that one specifically because obviously that was the aftermath of like Chadwick Boseman's death. Rest in peace. But that's the next opportunity I think I see for another director to come in and go like, hey, I really want to see what we can do with like these anti-heroes and see what we can make them, like what we can do to make them go like, well, I sort of ended up supporting the villain in the end. And imagine the conversations that would form in your groups. Where it's like, imagine if we were sitting here and I ended up taking Namor's side and you ended up taking Black Panther's side. Like genuinely just because we ended up maybe seeing more of ourselves in one of the other two characters.
I think like even the Riddler, a lot of people would actually think that the Riddler, like, had a point to be made.
Yeah.
Because like, technically, he didn't necessarily do anything that's too far outside of like having, like, making sure that justice is served. He was just doing it in a bad way. Like, a lot of the stuff that he wanted real change. 100%. It's like the only reason that people thought he was bad is because he killed people to do it.
That's right.
And so it's like, that's sort of bordering on that level of like, this guy is literally like insane. Like he's like completely
his moral compass
deranged.
is
Like
flipped,
he has all of these ideas, and he has like this delusion that he's like working with Batman. He's writing letters to him as if he's like working with him, but he's not doing that at all.
Yeah.
And so it's like there's this weird line to be drawn with, like, he has the right intentions. He wants the city to change for good, and he wants to expose the lies. And he does that by killing people and just like doing awful, horrendous stuff and exploiting people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, how do you make sense of that as a person, like, thinking about like ethics and like your own moral compass?
But maybe part of that is giving it time. So like, my favorite TV show right now is The Handmaid's Tale. And maybe I'm just that's what I like about that show. I now am in a place where I don't even know if I like the good guy, so to speak. Like June, I don't even know if I like her anymore. Like, she's just gone completely off the rails. But she's very clear. She's the protagonist. This whole thing is very clear around her, and I still very much support part of her cause. But the way that she's going about it now, it's like your moral compass has been messed up. But I haven't realized that throughout these seasons, I've been taken on this journey where it's like, oh no, like the fact that she's gone through XYZ and the fact that they've taken her kids, and she had a kid with a guy that she ended up loving, but only because of the proximity, and like they were in this kind of relationship that was almost necessary, and then now she's somewhere else, and there's a thing that bonds her to him, but then also there's her child that's left back in Gilead who bonds her to Gilead. She wants to return to Gilead.
Yeah.
Even though Gilead is the place that took out her friend's eye, even though it was the place that forced her into pregnancy, even though it was the place where she would get sexually assaulted, that kind of thing. Like, she wants to go back to help her daughter, who, by the way, now we don't even know if the daughter loves her anymore. It's so screwed that it's just one of those things that gets me going, like, this is the mess that I'm after. Maybe I don't want it to that extent, but that stuff just
depends on the audience that they're going for.
Yeah, but I think it's just more, you don't even need it to that degree, but just where lines get blurred, that's often just it's a very interesting place for directors to go and play with these characters. Severance, man. Like, you remember Severance.
I haven't watched all of it, but yeah.
Oh, you haven't? Oh, no. You haven't finished it? What are you doing? You haven't finished it?
I'm like halfway.
No, you need to finish this. You need, like...
But, okay, so one example that we might both like have thoughts of is
here I was about
The Boys.
To spoil it for you. Yes.
Like The Boys, it's like, I don't like either of the teams at this point. I'm like, bro, I don't know if I necessarily agreed with The Boys, but I definitely don't like the people at Vought either. I'm like, how do I make sense of all this?
And guess what? You're going to watch season 4 and season 5 and season 6 because you're hooked on that. Like, you're looking for resolve where maybe you get some, but then you end up going into like a deeper and more messed up place where you're like, all right, so Homelander's really just looking for the love of a father, but the way that he's going about, the love of a parent, but he's also just one of the more messed up superheroes that I've ever seen. And technically he hasn't entirely harmed his son like Ryan, but gosh, he's come close. He's pushed him off a building, but he knows he's super.
The end of season 3, he lasered some dude in front of his son, and
In
his
front of
son
his son.
smiled.
Yeah, so that's like
So it's
that's
like
psychological.
That's the start of him like introducing his son to like it's okay to just like kill people without discretion.
Right. But like you see how this dialogue is like the conclusion I came to is Homelander was so psychologically damaged himself because he didn't have a parent, and he was brought up very much a part of the system, being told that he is God basically, that he doesn't know better when it comes to teaching his own offspring.
He thinks that he knows the best
He
because
thinks
he's the most powerful.
That's right.
Yeah.
So for him, he's only doing what he thinks is right.
He gets to choose.
He gets to choose who lives and who. Like we clearly see it as villainous, but it's like, does he know any better than that? Who can challenge him to say like that is wrong and that is right?
That's what the boys are there for. But then they're gonna do it in like most messed up ways.
Most messed up ways, and like that is interesting.
But it's like there's like almost no other way for them to do it because now they don't have access to the temp V because bloody brains turn to Swiss cheese.
That's right. But dude, but that's, I don't know, like I've kind of gone off on a tangent, but I think that's an opportunity for movies. Like we're kind of done with the cookie cutter, good guy, bad guy.
Oh, I think one movie that I'm really looking forward to is in Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Because it's looking like the antagonist in the film is not going to be a villain. It's going to be another Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And the conflict is not about saving, like, I'm going to defeat this villain and save the city.
World,
it's like, can you save everyone? That's the question being asked. That's a big one.
Yeah.
And it's like, Miles Morales is like, yes, I can save everyone and I can choose my own destiny and I don't have to listen to you, even though you're wiser and you're smarter and you're older and you're better than me. Jeez. I'm going to challenge everything that you know and everything that you think you've learned and try and be better than you have ever been, because I have the optimism and the hope that I do. And it's like, man. Geez, I don't know, Miles. Yeah, like I'm kind of siding with Spider-Man 2099. Like you got to live in the real world, buddy.
He's got to grow up, right?
He's like, but Miles is going like, I choose my own destiny? And it's like, that's a pretty good question. Like, can you choose your own path for life, or is life just something that happens to you?
Are you a passive victim or an active agent? Is the black and white way of looking at it. Yeah. But yeah, oftentimes it's not like you're just this one fixed. You're in a fixed state of being an active agent. Sometimes you're just lazy, or sometimes things just kind of happen to you, and you know there's no other way to go about life, kind of thing. No, that's a very interesting. But like that is in itself, like that's not necessarily even The Boys or Handmaid's Tale, but they've taken a completely different approach to a superhero. I don't want an X-Men story arc. I want like a Logan story arc.
Yeah,
that's what I'm after.
You get to find out what like he's like, what Logan's like.
Yeah, that's how you really grow to like these guys. Like at the end, like. I didn't care for Wolverine in the X-Men, but by the end of Logan, I was like,
"Oh yeah, that movie was just brilliant."
Yeah, bro. So like what he it sort of is, but it's not his daughter. Sort of.
Yeah,
is.
It's basically like
the DNA.
It's basically his daughter.
It's his daughter.
I'd say it's his daughter.
But it's like he just had no regard.
He's not a good dad. But then by the end of it, you're like, oh, he was like, maybe he isn't so bad of a dad.
It took all that for us to realize, oh my gosh, he is, or for him to show he is a good dad. Yeah. But that kind of thing is like, the storytelling needs to really be like drawn out and like really worked on for us to get a gem like that. It
needs to be a like human story. It needs to be like a personal story. Yeah. And you can see the character 100%. And what the people are like and just like be able to understand their world. Because it's like you see what he's going through. You see how he has to take care of this senile man who's like got these crazy powers that just like totally ruin what's going on for everyone. And then just like the repercussions of him having to run away with this guy that has tremors that freeze
cause
time.
destruction, and then his daughter, who's like just this chaos version of him, like basically him when he was a kid, but like he wasn't that powerful kind of thing because he didn't have the adamantium claws and wasn't that good a fighter, and like
and she's so feisty and so aggressive and stuff, and it's just insane.
Yeah, but it's like it was so. I don't know, man. I'm ranting, but I want that out of these movies so bad because these superheroes are an opportunity for us to have those kinds of conversations where we're like,
absolutely,
like this. I don't know if I don't care if my favorite superhero is Black Panther or Thor or Iron Man or Captain Marvel. I don't care at all. Like, so long as that story that's being told, I end up like gravitating towards that.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think there's the opportunity for in like the MCU, that they can kind of break out of that shell of what they have now.
Just pump out content.
Yeah, pump out content. Like, and like, even if we got a movie every 3 years, I wouldn't care.
Oh, 100%.
But if we got one that was like a
good movie.
Jeez. Imagine we get like a Logan version of what's my man? Hawkeye. Yeah. Something like that. Or like a Logan's the example I have, or like the boys version of the X-Men.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, like
yeah, for sure.
Just something to make you go like, "Oh, okay." Like maybe they create some kind of thing where it's like, "All right, maybe when when you're going to watch an X-Men movie, this isn't a family movie. This is like a mature audience, Yeah, and then maybe they make 18. Avengers the family one, but like these other ones kind of exploring these other themes that are like, oh, you know what? Like, this is a really interesting
because there's a lot of questions that you can ask that maybe aren't being addressed. Yeah. And I think that would require a lot of diverging from the comic material because everyone knows what happens in the comics. Everyone already has like an idea of like, you have your Secret Wars, you have this, that, and the other. Like everyone already has like, but all the people who have read the comics are like, I know where they're going with this. I know that they're get Kang to do this, and then he's going to start Secret Wars, and then Secret Wars is going to reset the timeline, and then reset the timeline is going to make like XYZ movies and stuff. It's like people are already predicting what's going to happen. Yeah. And more or less it's seeming to move towards what they've already said.
So maybe it's like we should start expecting that from, like with Sony owning Spider-Man and then them kind of diverging from the MCU Spider-Man. You know how like with the DCEU, you'll have like CW Flash, and then you will have DCEU Flash, and then they might have a different thing. DC is
a mess at the moment.
It is a mess, but like
they've stopped everything. Yep. And they're just going to have one universe.
But
called the DCU.
But they've struck well with Batman, Matt Reeves' Batman. Like that.
Yeah, that's the only one that they're keeping that's separate from the main universe.
Okay, there you go.
So they're keeping Matt Reeves' Batman, and then they're gonna have the DCU, which like once the Flash movie comes out, that's going to reset everything.
Okay. Yeah. Well, like,
but yeah.
For instance, right? I don't see why someone couldn't take. It's a bit difficult with this specific character because he's very beloved. Iron Man.
Yeah.
And turn his story into a Batman thing. I know that it's tough because it's like RDJ is the guy that you think of with Batman.
Recasting Iron Man,
that's going to be a very tough thing. Yeah. But like, for example, I'm giving, it's like they have those kind of story arcs of parents killed when they were both young and orphaned, grew up rich, both of them having like people who grounded them, like with their friends. Like Batman had Alfred, Tony had Rhodey, that kind of thing. And like they kind of grow up learning about their world as orphans kind of thing, and then that leads them to be the characters they are. Just so happens that the version that we've got of Iron Man is this arrogant,
probably more realistic version of a rich kid who's
but like
an orphan.
Exactly. But, and I think RDJ's spin on it has been fantastic. Like,
Mm.
I liked, I don't know what people thought of it. I liked Iron Man 1, 2, even 3 I ended up liking. I know a lot of people said that was the best one. Wasn't for me, maybe? I don't know yet. I have to rewatch them to kind of... Iron Man 1, 2, or 3. A lot of people like 3.
Oh, 3.
Yeah. I don't know yet.
Yeah, I haven't watched it in a while. Like the villain in that was pretty bad, but I think people really liked the part where he didn't have a suit.
That's right.
Because it was him figuring out how to get around. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, man, that's my take on these superhero movies. I think there's a big opportunity because I'm watching, like, I've just recently learned that my favorite movies are like neo-noirs, neo-westerns. My favorite shows are like dystopias. Like, just that stuff gets me thinking. I'm like, what is the good thing to do? What is the right thing to do?
Yeah, fair enough. It's pretty, like, it's better to... It feels more engaging to be watching those things where it's talking about what like proper philosophical questions rather than...
I'm happy. I feel like there's a time for, like...
funny thing happened or whatever.
That's
it's just
right.
like your Gossip Girl.
Yeah.
No, not Gossip Girl. Friends or like sitcoms where it's just like...
Those have a place in the industry, right? But, like, I would like more of the... Like, it's got me feeling a type of way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It is nice to have those, like, Big Bang Theories and stuff where it's just a funny thing happens and
short
people
problem,
laugh.
short resolve kind of thing.
But like having those philosophical shows that have you thinking about, like, holy crap, like there's so much. This says something about the world that we live in, and it applies to me in a very confronting way. Yeah,
you got to see yourself in these characters in like different ways, like pieces of yourself in these characters.
Yeah,
New Girl, not to. You've never watched New Girl.
I've watched one episode.
Yeah, man, you've got to. First, you got to finish Severance.
So one show that do you know the show called You?
Yeah.
On Netflix. Have you seen any of it?
No.
So I watched the new season of it. And that's basically like one of those shows that tries to go on that
Good
angle.
Versus bad, okay.
Because the main character is like, he's a psychopath. Like, not a psychopath, he's a serial killer. And he's delusional as well because he thinks that him killing everyone is like not that bad. But every single time he like meets someone that's sort of interesting and happens to be a woman, he like becomes obsessed with them and stalks them, and then like finds a way to insert himself into her life, and it always ends up in a bloodbath.
What the?
What the heck? Yeah, exactly. But season 4, by this point, he has killed 2 people that he loved, I think.
Damn.
But he met his wife in season 3. He met her in season 2, and then basically found out that she's also like has murderous tendencies. So they're perfect for each other. So in season 3, all this stuff happens where basically they move to this town. They manage to get out of their crimes, and by the end of each season, he always finds someone to pin all of his crimes on. That is like kind of a okay case for like what he's done. By season 3, they've like moved to this town, and then he starts to be disinterested in his wife and child, and is interested in his neighbor that was recently divorced. And then he starts like talking to her, and then I think episode 2 she dies, and it turns out that his wife killed her because she was jealous. And so it's just like all this crazy stuff happens. By the end of season 3, he has killed his wife and then framed her for all of the murders, including his own death. And he fakes his own death, cuts his toes off, and puts it in a pie. and says that, and then writes a suicide letter that's meant to be written by his dead wife. And he burns the house down.
What the actual heck, man? This is like great, fantastic.
And then he runs off to France to try and find the lady that he was in love with while he was married to his wife. That she tried to kill him for being in love with her.
That show sounds freaking.
So the most recent season, he like basically splits his personality, and he sort of like has whatever Moon Knight has, but in a weird way, where he doesn't remember anything that he does. And so he doesn't remember anything his alter does, but he like develops it from like as an adult, which is not how it works. It's not how DID works. Because remember in Moon Knight how he was a kid. But anyway, he develops this alter. But the whole way through the season, they only show you his current self. And so you think that there's this murderer on the loose killing all these people, and he's trying to solve all these murders and fix it and be a good person finally. And you're like, yes, redemption for our main character. Finally, he's doing the right thing. He cares about people and stuff. He's not being a murderous lunatic. And then by the last few episodes, it's like, nope, actually it was him this whole time. And the person that they said it was actually just a figment of his imagination. And that was his alter this whole time. And they weren't there.
That's
and so it's just like,
that's the most destructive.
The main character of this show is just awful.
What the heck? And look, I'm never going to watch this show. But it is completely fine that something like that exists because it's so different.
Yeah.
That's so messed up.
Yep. By the end of it, he ends up framing his student for all the murders that happened, and then framing the student's girlfriend for killing him rather than him. Like, basically they found this box of evidence in his apartment, and then he went and put it in the girlfriend's apartment so that if she were to say, oh no, it was my professor, that they would find that box in her apartment and see that she had like committed crimes. Like, I don't know, it was
this
so dumb.
Is so dark, bro. That is the darkest. And hey, look, I'm happy it exists. It's great. I'm never gonna watch it.
It's just awful. He just does all these awful things, and it's a show about him. It's like,
but people like that kind of stuff, you know. Like people watched, like For the Life of Me, I'll never understand why. Like my sister will not watch The Handmaid's Tale. Will not. She's like, I don't like June. I don't like nothing. But then I'm like, she tells me everything about what she watched in like the Ted Bundy tapes. I'm like, dog, like that's so much darker.
I'm glad that You is not about an actual person.
About
like
that kind of thing. No, but it's like, how do you say? It's like, I'm glad these things, the kind of shows exist because it's like, they're allowed to exist because it's like, man, like let people talk about the stuff that scares them about either themselves or other people.
Yeah,
like You kind of shows you like, oh my gosh, like that's scary. Like who else do I not know?
Unapologetically, like disgusting and evil.
So are there other people out there who are unapologetically disgusting and evil?
I think that they really do a poor job of like representing people who actually have like, I don't know, actual tendencies to want to do things versus actually doing it.
But it's
because I would imagine a lot of people have like, oh, I want to find out more about this person, and they wouldn't explore it nearly as much as this character does. Whereas he like goes on the internet and does a deep dive into like all these searches into every single person that he meets. And he's like super just like obsessed with every single detail. It's like, I don't know how many people are actually like that.
Yeah, but that's today. Like, it's a very, like, I don't know, like, novel kind of, like, genre, if you will, like, that style of thing. 20 years from now, it might get super, like, if you've watched, like, older movies about, like, government corruption, like in like people like the government's involvement in like wars and stuff.
Yeah.
It all just kind of seems like, oh yeah, there's a double agent, this and that.
Yeah.
But then you watch like Sicario. Have you watched Sicario?
No.
Top 3.
How do you spell that?
Sicario.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that's like it. Like when you talk about just like the good and bad of like, you know, how government gets involved with other governments and stuff, like how complex that stuff gets. 20 years ago, they wouldn't have been able to make a movie like that. At least I don't think. I haven't seen
2015
one.
movie?
2015 movie.
Yeah.
Then there was a 2018 one, I think. Sicario and El Soldado. Yes. Great movies. Great pair of movies. The first one by far was better in my opinion. Second one wasn't bad. I wouldn't say it's... No, it was a good movie as well. But like that style of movie, right? Where it's just like, that's how these movies mature. Like they mature to such a point where it's like, oh snap, this is probably as close to reality as it gets, kind of thing. And use...
I think the good thing about it is that it like takes things to a whole extreme to reveal the little things that we do.
Yeah.
Because like seeing this guy like search up every single person that he meets and do an extensive search to find them and find out what they do and who they're involved with. And then like when he is introduced to them, it's like he shakes their hand, and then in the like what they do with the next scene is they like pan to like all of the computer searches that he did on that person, and there's a narration of him explaining who this person is and where they're from and what they do.
Dog.
And so it's like it sort of like reveals the times where it's like you've already searched someone up or seen someone on Facebook, and then you meet them in person and it's like, oh, I know who this person is, but I need to pretend that I've never heard of them before.
Right.
It's like, that's a rare thing for most people.
Yeah.
But it sometimes happens,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
Whereas this guy does it for every single person he meets.
That's right.
Or it's like if something doesn't go how you want it, and you use physical force to like make things go the way you want. Usually those things can be like a little harmful to the relationship, but it's like it might be like I'm annoyed at you, and so like I hit your arm to be like, Prosper, pay attention.
That's right.
Or whatever. And then like that's a light little thing.
Yeah.
Whereas the extent that this guy takes his force on situations is like, as soon as he wants something, he will like be almost to the point of like killing someone to get what he wants.
Yeah.
And so it like points out those little things in you by having this person that's just like goes all the way to the...
That's right.
To the extreme.
Yeah. That's how you get people's attention. I just imagine over the years there'll be more shows like it that take a more subtle approach to like, okay, this is how something like that's gonna, because
I mean it takes a certain person who's analyzing it in a certain way to pick up on that.
Yeah.
Because it's like most people will just be like, this guy's awful and I don't know why this show exists.
That's right. Yeah. But like the contrast is something like if you've watched the movie 1984 or like even read the book.
I've read most of the book.
Okay.
Half of it.
But like if you watch the movie, that's like one of those things you look at and you're like, maybe at the time it made people feel a certain type of way of like, oh my gosh, could this be reality? But like fast forward to however many years today when that movie was made, like I think it was made in the 90s. Fast forward to today, and then you look at like the shows I was telling you about, like Handmaid's Tale, like, oh, this is sort of what a dystopia, like it's sort of still extreme, but you don't see too much of a difference in how, you know, some people act in this way or some people act in this way. You're like, this looks a lot closer to reality, and it's more subtle than something like 1984 with like military, like that kind of in your face kind of vibe. You know?
1984 is like a super surveillance state, and it's like everything's to the extreme.
Exactly, and so is Handmaid's Tale, but it strikes you. It strikes you a lot more as like, could this actually happen today?
It's more close to what we actually experience.
That's exactly right. Yeah, like you know what, there are theocracies that exist. You don't really get an insight into them, But like places like even like just autocracies like North Korea, or like if you go to places like perhaps Venezuela, or just these other places where government has complete control and stuff, where you're like, little piece of that exists here, a little piece of that exists here, kind of thing. You're like, that's not like it couldn't happen, kind of thing.
Yeah, sure, for sure. Just conscious of time. Do you want to skip over some of the?
Yeah, skip over.
Because we've got Trump indictment, Twitter dropping the state affiliation labels, the TikTok bill. Well, let's talk about the TikTok bill.
Yeah,
that's kind of interesting. Because so for anyone who doesn't know, there was a bill in America. Where they wanted to make like TikTok be banned. That's such a weird way of phrasing that. But
ban TikTok.
They want to ban TikTok, and then the bill that sort of is limiting that stuff. There's a Utah bill that's sort of limiting teen access to social media in general. So Utah has become the first state to require, this is via BBC, Utah has become the first state to require social media firms to get parental consent for their children to use their apps and verify users are at least 18. And they also impose a social media curfew that blocks children access between 10:30 p.m. and 6:30 a.m. unless adjusted by their parents. So they want to make it easier to take legal action against social media companies. But yeah, very interesting stuff. There's that Utah bill, and just a lot of talk about social media regulations. And a lot of there was sort of one guy, the U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy. This is by the Washington Post. He said that he believes 13 is too early for kids to be joining apps like Instagram and TikTok, and he felt it created a distorted environment and does a disservice to kids, which is a pretty good point. And like, you know, as a kid, having access to social media, I think like it did a lot to my performance at school. Yeah. I'm sure I would have found other ways to procrastinate, but it wasn't helpful. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, like it can definitely be a tool to distract. Like its original intention may have been to like be able to communicate with people from across the globe, or some, like, you know, you don't have to give them a phone call or send them a message in a bottle, that kind of thing. But now you can
contact someone just instantly.
Yeah, but now you can watch TV shows, you can send memes, you can, you know what I mean? It's like proper media platform, and that you can just waste hours on. Instagram, I find, is that for me, but I don't have TikTok.
Yeah,
I just hear that
TikTok's gonna be just the same. Just a lot of the same stuff. Just Instagram is like a month late to all of the memes and stuff. But yeah, it's pretty interesting because it's like.
What do you think they should do?
Well, I don't know. I think in that article where the Washington Post one, where it says like it's actually the parents' job and not the government's job to like choose when a kid does stuff. I think that's a pretty apt assessment of it, and a good like pushback on the thing. But I don't necessarily think it's I don't know why a 13-year-old really needs Instagram or TikTok or any of the things that aren't just like directly a messaging platform. Like I can see why a child might need to contact people, keep in touch with their friends, but social media as a concept of like, I'm going to post this thing up for everyone to see. In my observation, it just becomes really toxic.
It might end up getting regulated. It's like kind of like how, like, you know, when everybody got like cars and stuff, like they got their licenses. Like,
yeah.
I remember seeing a video on Instagram, funny enough, and it was when they made drinking alcohol illegal when you're driving.
Right.
And there was like outrage of like, oh my gosh, we're basically going communist and this and that, this and that. But
the Reds are taking over.
That kind of thing. But then, you know, over time, people are just like, you understand that it's like, oh,
it becomes
okay,
more socially acceptable.
drinking it does something to you, and it's probably ideal not to drink and drive. So maybe that's the same thing. It's like there was the let's call it a lawless period with social media. By the way, I'm not calling for this. It's more just like if you were to observe it like this, it's like there was a lawless period, but then there might just be like proper laws set around it.
Yeah, no, that's definitely an interesting thing to think about, because I guess when there's no, even within, when there's no boundaries, even within like an interpersonal relationship, like if I suddenly one day come up to you and say, Prosper, I would really like you to never buy me any food ever. And it's like, I'm just setting a new boundary. It's like, then you might start to go, why can't I buy you? Like we don't really hang out that much, but sometimes I think it's nice to
buy food.
to buy you food. So like, what's the problem with that? And then I'll be like, oh, well, you know, I'm trying to be more independent and I'm trying not to rely on people, blah, blah, blah. It's like, as soon as I set that boundary, someone goes, why, what's that about? Right. Or even if it was like a reasonable thing, if I had a problem with someone doing a certain thing, but that action for them is just normal. And I'm like, hey man, like, I don't like it when you say that. Yeah, chew with your mouth open. And it's like, oh, well, I'm not hurting anyone. And it's like, yeah, but like when you're around me, like, don't do it. Otherwise, I'm not gonna like sit with you when we're at lunch. Up, and then they could be like, oh, you're so sensitive. You're such a snowflake. Like, seriously, get a grip. Yeah. But it's like, no, like, I'm just setting a boundary. Like, I'm just putting a limit in place and saying, hey, if you keep doing that, I'm not going to hang out with you. Yeah. You can keep doing it. It's perfectly fine. But it's like, in the same sense, it's like the government can be like, hey, these social media things are doing damage to your kids. They're creating toxic environments for them to like have these arguments and just stir up drama that just doesn't need to be there, because their minds are not developed enough to be able to handle those social contexts, and they're constantly vulnerable for people to just go and attack them, and they don't have the self-control to just block that person because they want to engage the fight. And so we're going to put regulations on it. Oh, well, it's only those one or two kids that are bullying that are the problem. You should deal with them. Okay. Tell that to all of the kids who are like cutting themselves because they feel like bad because someone's like bullying them online, and they don't know how to deal with it, and parents don't know how to deal with it, and schools don't know how to deal with it. No one knows how to deal with it.
Yeah. So like,
it's just like,
I kind of agree. Only thing is, like, I don't think it, especially with our generation, I don't think it takes the government to see what social media, that, like, you know what I mean? Like, we've grown up 100%. With it. So it's very easy for us to even start thinking now. Like, I've already said in my head, like, I'm probably not going to buy my kids a phone until, you know what I mean? Like that, like a certain age, or maybe I'm going to buy them a flip phone.
They need to be old enough to be able to make those decisions wisely.
Yeah. Well, and it's just like, these are the rules that you kind of set as a parent. Like, I'm not so crazy. I'm not so obsessed with whether or not they make TikTok or Instagram illegal or social media illegal. Yeah. Like, I know that as a parent, it's kind of my duty to, you know what I mean? Like, they've made drugs illegal, but like, what's going to stop a kid that really wants drugs from getting that kind of thing? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, fine, do it. But at some point, like, you got to realize the responsibility or the safeguards that you have to put in place to go. Like,
100%.
Yeah, like, if my kid does it, maybe part of it falls on me. Sometimes they just, you know, kind of just do what they want and suffer the consequences and learn from their mistakes. But
Yeah, I do think that parents need to be educated on how to help their kids with social media stuff, and kids need to if we're going to allow kids to have access to social media, there needs to be the right resources in place for them to learn and for people to be teaching them, not just like some like help menu that you have to look for. Like there needs to be some way that young people who are like newly getting access to this stuff are given the right support in using it so that they don't do something silly.
So I think where you might regulate, where I'm happy for government to like regulate something like this, is if they said, you know, like the schools and stuff are kind of moving to like online learning and these platforms. Like if they said you won't be using these like private social media companies as a means of communication with your students, I'm like, yeah, that's completely fine. If
I'm
you
pretty sure that's already in place.
Exactly,
that's
right? So it's like that's the law, and so you have to use like these proprietary like platforms to kind of like Google Classroom or whatever the case is. I'm not mad at that at all, but yeah, in terms of like social media, no, because like I might decide to say to my kid like when they're 15, like, all right, you're ready, or like, but then you might say, nah, not until you're 17 or 18, like that kind of thing. So that's where the waters get murky. So for me, I'm like, I'm fine for you to maybe even set like a low baseline. You say 12 or whatever the case is, kind of thing, or like not even
13 is technically the age for most.
For most, 13 then. But yeah, in terms of like when they actually get it, it's very much just like because other kids might treat it like it's a right. Like when you start saying like, no, it's 14. I'm 14 now, so I should get it. It's like, no, like this is something the government advises, but your parent decides. Because I remember I really wanted it. I was always asking my parents, and like they didn't let me until they knew like, okay, you're ready. And it was like they monitored it for a bit.
That's why I think that it's super important for parents to be educated on it, because not every parent is. Yeah. And then you see parents giving their kids GTA 5 with no supervision, or you see parents giving their kids a phone with no supervision, and they do all this stuff. Whereas like one of our youth kids, I talked to him and he was saying like, oh, one of the games I like to play is GTA 5. And I asked him about it and he was like, oh yeah, well, technically like it's my dad's game and he only lets me play when he's around, and he only lets me drive the cars around. And that's all he lets me do. And I was like, that's an awesome example of how to do like that collaborative parenting, where you're having fun with playing a game with your kid, and you're making sure that they're like staying within the bounds of where you know they're not exposed to anything bad. Because I imagine that his dad knows what you can do in those games and what things he doesn't want his kid being
it goes beyond like just shooting people and stuff. It's like that, it goes wild, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, but like that's what I mean. It's like when it comes to like parents parenting their kid, I don't really want the government involved in that kind of thing.
No,
you know what I mean? So
that's where it's like an education thing, not a government thing.
So I would rather it just be like a thing where it's like, all right, they've done what they can to kind of say like, this is really what we recommend. The social media company sets the policy, like you can't, because the social media company, they can do whatever they want. It's their product, right? So they can set 14, 18, 21, whatever they want.
Yeah, they can.
So they can do what they want. But as a parent, it's like, all right, I'm that last point of like that last firewall before it's like yay or nay kind of thing. Yeah, I'm not a parent yet, but it's like that's the kind of thing where it's like, you know,
this whole time we've been talking about like as a parent, it's like we don't even.
My son, the Quesman, doesn't need. But it's that's the kind of thing that I think I'd be cool with, just because it's I see it as it's still very much in the control of the parent to decide like this is when the kid. Because TikTok, I probably won't let my kids have. I don't even like the fact that like, say my sister has it, but it's like what? Yeah, I'm not her parent, and it's also just like like.
And she's a grown adult now.
Grown adult, you make her own decisions. But it's like when it comes to me, like when I get my kids, I don't even want them sniffing TikTok until they're, I don't know.
30.
I don't want them ever touching it, to be honest. I don't have it. Like I know that I would get addicted to it.
Yeah.
But that's why I don't have it. Like I'm already bad with Instagram. So every now and again I delete it. Now I've deleted it, and I'm probably going to reinstall it.
Yep.
Next week or something. But it's like
I mean, every time I need to do assignment, I'll like delete Messenger and Instagram and stuff so that I don't get distracted. But I know I'll install it after.
Exactly. So it's just like it's a good idea to kind of like. I think we, having been exposed to like the social media platforms, we'll kind of have the best idea of how to govern it, even though 100%. They're evolving like crazy. But like at least we'll just kind of know like, all right.
Oh,
I know now.
Bro, I was sitting in a cafe the other day and I saw this kid sitting on YouTube shorts.
Okay.
Just like scrolling away. I was like, bro.
It's like that.
But
man.
he had his like dad's phone. I was like, dude, like.
It's like
why?
that, bro.
What is going on? Like,
it's like that.
Just talk to your kid.
It's like that, man. But it's like, because I don't know. Like I see it as, I've seen the, like you have your kids and maybe it's you're going away and so you just give them the iPads. That's your time of peace, right?
iPad kids.
The iPad, yeah. And so it's just like that's your time of peace. I think my cousin does it real well. She has twins, like 3 boys, and she's like, just like this is the rule. This is when you can use your iPad, and I'm kind of learning through them where it's like now when they come to my house, like I like if it's me babysitting them, like we don't watch TV now. They read books.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
that's great.
They don't like me.
They don't read the books?
No, they don't like the fact that they can't watch the TV, but like I get them to read the books. Like I made them do comprehension the other day. Sat down, read this thing, found out that one of them read the answers at the back. I'm like, oh, starting again, got them a new thing. Because I promised them, like, maybe we'll do a little bit of TV afterwards.
Yeah.
Nothing.
No
so the
TV,
whole day, there was just no fun.
Oh,
but that's like,
yeah,
it's very sad because I see the type of parent I'm going to become. And that's just what it is. I've accepted it now.
Oh,
I'm like the no fun with kids anymore. But man.
I know where you're at. I get you. Speaking of addictive things, we were talking about before the pod, streaming wars.
Oh.
And the question was, you said this question, but I'm going to read it out. If you had to keep only 3 streaming services, which would you have and why?
I didn't actually take time to think about it, man, but like it's tough. I know Amazon Prime I'd keep.
Oh yeah, Amazon Prime.
Prime.
That'd be on my list too.
Second?
It's tough.
I'd probably say as of right now, Paramount Plus.
Really?
Yeah, I'm watching a lot of their shows. 1883. Now, they don't have Yellowstone on it yet, but if they ever put it on there, it's on Stan. That's one of my favorite shows. Paramount Plus, because I'm watching Mayor of Kingstown as well.
Right.
Just really good shows.
Is that another Western?
There's a screenwriter called Taylor Sheridan, and he has like these list of shows that string together. Like he's kind of just made them. It's almost like a novel book writer, and he's just made like these different books that sort of operate within the same universe, Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts kind of thing. Same thing with Yellowstone, 1883, 1924, Tulsa King. 23, sorry. 1883, Mayor of Kingstown, all by Taylor Sheridan, but they kind of operate on different spaces. Really love the stuff, man. Yellowstone is an amazing show. Amazing. Yeah. So I'd keep Prime, Paramount, and if you had to stretch me, maybe I'd keep Apple TV Plus.
Yeah.
Because of Severance.
Yeah, fair enough.
How about yourself?
I'd probably do Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
I would say, I would have said Disney probably like 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I would say that.
Not now?
But it's disgusting because I don't really like Channel 9 or any of their friends. But Binge has some DC stuff, like Warner Brothers stuff.
Superman
and unfortunately, Channel 9 and Warner Brothers are very interlinked in a lot of ways because of Rupert Murdoch, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like the DC stuff mainly. And there's some other shows on Binge that are pretty good as well.
Are there any, like, the DC animated stuff? Is that on Binge?
Oh, I don't think it's... they have Harley Quinn. They have the Harley Quinn show.
Okay.
I've really enjoyed that.
It's good. I only watched season 1.
I haven't finished it.
Oh, okay.
But I really enjoyed what I did watch of it. And... I don't know. It's a tough one. Because like Netflix is pretty dead. Stan is like very...
Netflix has good stuff.
Australian.
It's just like for the price you pay and like the stuff that you get, like
not really getting much.
Yeah, like there's The Last Kingdom. That's my favorite show on Netflix, probably that I've ever watched. Fantastic. I don't know if you've watched it. And they've just come out with like it's a season finale, but they've made it a movie. So I'm gonna watch that. But after that, I don't think I'm that interested because I don't really care. Yeah. Uhtred of Bebbanburg.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a Viking type show, man.
Okay.
Literally just an amazing...
I think I would do Disney. I think I would do Disney as my third one.
Disney.
Because not only do you get the Marvel stuff, you also get Star Wars shows. And The Mandalorian is one of my favorite series. Is
it?
Or like...
No.
If you had like top 10,
sure,
it'd probably be in there.
Okay.
I don't... There's a lot of series that I like.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed The Mandalorian. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay, so you'd keep Amazon, which we both would.
Yeah.
Binge, which I had and I got rid of. But you'd have Binge, and then you'd have Disney.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. I think
maybe
Disney...
instead of Binge, I might do Apple TV Plus.
Yeah? What makes you say Apple TV Plus?
Because I haven't really explored much on there.
Okay. I think Foundation's decent. Severance is by far the best show on Apple TV Plus, in my opinion. But people like Ted Lasso. I haven't watched Ted Lasso.
Okay.
You need to finish Severance, bro. I was about to spoil it here, just like 20 minutes. Oh, man, when I tell you.
The last thing I wanted to talk about, and I am very excited to talk about this. I know we're sort of running out of time, but there was a video that I watched called "The Future is a Dead Mall" by a guy called Folded Ideas, and his previous very beautifully made expository video. I wouldn't call it a video essay. Like his video essays are not very essay like. They're more like journalism type of stuff. Mm-hmm. His previous like really good work that I really enjoyed was called "The Line Goes Up."
Damn, what is it? It's an hour and 50 minutes.
Yeah.
You liked it that much?
Yep. So the line goes up is about the problem with NFTs.
Okay.
And the future is a dead mall is about the metaverse. And he's like talking about how the metaverse is like very nebulous as a concept. No one really agrees on what the metaverse is other than it is sort of like this vague online virtual space that you can physically simulate yourself to be in through virtual reality. It could be three things. And I think the first one is that. And then the second one is like something else. I can't remember all of them, but two of them were that one where it's like you're simulating by being in virtual reality, or it's like you're in actual reality, but you have augmented reality glasses and get to see things in an augmented way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, VR versus AR.
Versus AR, yeah. But either way...
It's pre-discovered land.
Yeah, and then I think the third one was sort of like, it's like this alternate reality that you can live in, but you're walking around in it, and it's like... it's just like this really nebulous kind of vague idea of like, there's an online space that you can kind of live your life in, and everyone's going to move their real lives into the metaverse.
Right.
and this is the new thing that you need to capitalize on with your business, and your business needs to get land in the metaverse and stuff. And he just explores like all of these things about it, and basically finds that most of it is just like all these really boring, half-cooked, like half-baked ideas. And it's just like, it's as if you're like in a shopping mall and there's no one there. And it's like you're walking around and there's like some activities to do, but most of it is just shops. Most of it is just online stores that you can walk into and like grab something off the shelf. And you think about like VR, like why do you have a website where you shop for stuff where you can search something up? Whereas if you're simulating yourself going to a physical store, walking around and grabbing something off the shelf, you have to find that product in the right aisle, when you could just as easily just have a web page
showing you the product
it
that
shows
you
you the
can
product
search
that you're searching for. It's like, oh, but we want to get the actual authentic experience of shopping. But like, even if you did want to do that, it's such a like low polygon version of reality. Like it's not anything close to reality. It's like super cartoonish, and you just like walk up and it's like a pixelated shirt, and it's sort of like shaped in a weird way, and you're not actually putting it on. You're like just holding this weird object, and it's like, what are we doing here? Like what is going on? Like,
do you think he continues to put billions into it, or does he?
Oh, it's not just a Mark Zuckerberg thing. It's like,
you're saying, it goes
there's
beyond
a bunch. It's like
MetaQuest.
Yeah, it's not just Quest.
Because
like
PSVR is also a thing.
Yeah, because the idea of the metaverse is more than just part of Meta. It's like this vague idea of like the online space itself. It's just like saying the internet. It's like there's not one the internet. It's like the internet is just the internet.
The internet.
So it's like the metaverse is like this other. It's like just a place. It's a place, but it's not actually like an app.
Okay.
It's like you can't be like, oh, I need to log onto the internet. It's like, no, you log into Google, or you log into YouTube, or you log into Facebook, or you log into Instagram.
Log into a platform, but the internet's just readily available.
The internet, exactly. The internet is the way that you access all those things.
That's
so it's like in the same way, the metaverse is like the way that you access all of these services, and there's different like hosts or servers for metaverse activities. That's like you have, I keep forgetting the name of the actual thing they used. What's it called? The future? Is it Deadmall?
Yeah.
Decentraland.
Okay.
Decentraland is the name of the platform that most things are on, and basically they started off as a VR platform, but now you can access it like through any computer, and it runs off like the Unreal Engine. But it's just like everything is just super dodgy. Like it's hardly even.
Yeah, it's like lo-fi and everything.
Yeah, really low quality.
Yeah,
and a lot of like cryptocurrency going into it, but not much actually coming out of it. And just the like when you watch the video, it'll like
I'll watch it tonight.
He explores a lot of different ideas, but it's just like. It's like a bunch of friends have like gotten together and been like, we're gonna do this really cool thing. We're gonna like do this really ambitious project. Everyone pull in some money, and we're gonna make this really cool thing. And then like they make it, and it's like,
it sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. It's like a bag of Doritos poured on top of a trash pile. It's like it's just like the result that they come out with is just
it's not at all
it's nothing.
What they wanted. Yeah,
it's just just like, and they advertise it as, oh well, we've got international brands advertising on our thing. We have a thing for this company, but you find out that it's like it's not just Hershey's. It's like Hershey's from I think like Papua New Guinea or something,
jeez.
or it's like Vodafone specifically in like some like remote place.
Okay.
I think one of them was. I think it was like anyway, it's like just the specific places. It's like Mercedes-Benz India, or something. It's just like it's not Mercedes-Benz as an international company advertising. It's like one of their branches in one country was like, "Hey, we should try this thing," and it's like this half-baked. It's basically a interactive web page. It's like a 3D web page that you can stand inside of, and it's like.
The way that the good use case that I've seen it in other than games is in like house tours and stuff. That's when I've looked at it and gone like, okay, because there's a camera like Canon is actually investing in. They have a lens that allows you to film it with your camera and like put it out in VR.
I reckon VR might be good for house tours.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still like those 3D videos are still things you can just view on a phone screen and then like.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Just turn
it
around.
You don't need to spend like $700 or $500 on a VR set just to go on a house tour. You can just go and show up to the house tour.
Well, I mean, it works for someone like say yourself that has it already, right? And like you.
I don't have it anymore. I sold it.
You sold yours?
Yeah.
Oh, what made you do that?
Because I needed money.
You needed money? Okay. Yeah. No, it's like. Yeah, just one of those things where I'm like, I'm probably never going to invest in it just because I'm not interested yet. But
well, it's like I would argue that the only use for it is for games.
Games,
like games and
virtual cinema.
Those
you
can
think?
Be just watch it on your phone screen.
Well,
like anything, it's just like watch on a laptop. Like you don't need to be fully immersed in this cinema.
But see, that's my thing.
All you're watching is the screen.
Yeah. Well, no, but like my thing is right. Like I'm always just gonna go to the cinema. That's why. Like I hope cinemas never like die, kind of thing. I'll go by myself now. I'm contemplating it, like just to watch like any movie that's on. But it's just one of those things where it's like I haven't yet seen the use case where it's like, oh, this will benefit me. I know like when Meta had like their whole thing, that release where they were showing you all the use cases that they saw for like. I was like, oh, like Zoom.
Yeah,
just
but
use Zoom.
the thing with that is that you are the example of what most people feel like about it because they make the hype about it, but it's like it's hype about something that genuinely does not deserve. Like they made the release and no one liked it, so it's not like they've got this brilliant genius idea and it'll be picked up in a few years by people because it's innovation and it's new technology that's going to take over the world.
It's got no traction at all.
It doesn't have any traction, and it's been long enough that if there was going to be traction, it would have come.
Yeah.
Whereas the things that they're producing on there and the ambitions that they have for it versus what they actually come out with,
they're not good.
It's like a massive gap between what they want and what we're getting. And so it's not living up to any of the things that people have said it's going to.
Right.
And they should have been able to at least done something that's meaningful. But in terms of the gaming stuff,
it's fine.
It's really achieved really well.
Okay.
Like you have a game like Half-Life Alyx where the details of the game are super in-depth. They're like it's not just a VR game where everything's like blocky and sort of low definition. Everything's quite realistic and they do a lot of cool stuff with like the physics and the particles and all the different graphical things that are like very innovative for VR systems. And so in the gaming space, they're doing really well, but in the other spaces that they're saying, oh, well, you can use VR for this, it's just not very viable.
Okay, so they've missed the mark in terms of like the quality that they've been able to achieve with some of that stuff then, is it?
They're trying to achieve something that doesn't make sense.
Okay.
It's like if I said to you, hey, Prosper, imagine if instead of showing up to your shooting, like where you want to like do like your work and like shoot a video.
Yep.
Instead of that, you can lay in your bed and put a big mask on that shows you what you're shooting, and then like do it. It's like it might sound good in theory, but it's like I don't want to freaking lay in bed all day. Like that's so.
Yeah.
It's so like
that's
isolated.
not what exactly.
It's just like
like the example you just said.
In your room.
The example you just said is like an example of like, oh, dude, like that would really help. Like we have a thing called recce where you go out and you like location scout. You look at the place and go, okay, there's power outlets here. There's these ceilings here. Okay, maybe I can fix these fixtures here, kind of thing. Like that sounds amazing, especially if it's like we live further than everything in Sydney.
What do you mean by that? Sounds amazing. Like if you could do it from home.
Part of it from home. Yeah. So it's like if I don't have time to go to...
But you wouldn't want to do it in VR because that's not the most optimal way of viewing those things.
Yeah, like in if the situation was perfect, like say it's like... Because some recce's like you might have to do the day before. And oftentimes it's like I have to ask a client, hey, can you send me a picture of the room? Am I going to have power in this place? Can I fit like a cart in there? That kind of thing. But maybe it might help to just have like a ready stage kind of environment where I can walk in. You know what I mean? Like that's an example where I'm like, all right, maybe that might work.
The technology just needs to be a lot better. Like if you use the stuff that's on the iPhone 13s where you can like scan a room and it maps out like a photogrammetry 3D image. Yeah. If you can use that, do the photogrammetry of the room and then put that into a VR environment and then send that to your photographer or your videographer and go, hey, here I'm sending you a VR file where you can access it. I think that's great. Yeah. But I don't think the technology is there.
It's not there yet, so that's why it's like...
Well, the things that they're developing are not even in that scope.
Yeah, okay.
The things they're developing are like, oh, we're gonna develop a special bar that you can go to and you can talk to your friends. Oh, we're gonna make an ultra cinema where everyone gets to go to this special cinema, and it's gonna have all these cool features. And it's like, no one wants to go to the cinema in VR.
Yeah,
like,
I'd rather go to the actual cinema or watch it at home.
Or watch it at home. It's like the good part about VR is that you have the games and you have the social games. Yep. The social games in VR are crazy good. Like they're because like you can just meet these random people and talk to them, and it's kind of funny. Sure. Like people will say just random stuff, and it's fun. But like the fun part of that is not that it's like this really beautiful, elegant, perfectly designed game. It's that you're interacting with other people and you get that socialization. But it's like, that's not the metaverse. That's just VR chat or whatever your alternative, like your social game is. If you're playing on Rec Room, it's like you just have these mini games and the activities. Yeah. And the mini games and activities are just part of your interaction with these strangers on the internet.
Yeah. No, it's so tough, man, because it's unrealistic and like you wouldn't want to see people walking outside with those giant like that. First of all, that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen because that's not how it works.
Like, exactly. But like one of them that in my head, like at the time, I was like, oh wow, this could really work. Like remember Google Glass?
Yeah, if they do augmented reality, that might work in some way, but it's
still not it because it's like there's better ways to do it. So it's like they've managed to put like heads up displays in vehicles. So I don't even need Google. Like I just look in at my windscreen and I can see like, oh, directions, turn left here and that kind of thing. And it's like that works better. VR, it's almost like they're trying to create a new space for a new economy that just doesn't have any feet or like it's not gonna
because you can use VR in other ways for the entertainment stuff is great, the gaming stuff is great, the social stuff is great, but like using it for a meeting, using it for like
Zoom
business
works fine.
Like the alternatives that we have at the moment are just better.
Yeah,
you're not going to spend $500 on a headset so that you're sitting in a 2-hour meeting with this thing that's like making your face sweat in places that it just doesn't normally
your
sweat.
Eyes, and you have to take off your glasses.
Eye strain,
you're a cartoon character, and you can't take anyone seriously, and like that kind of thing. You know,
and then you have like the lag of things, and like if it's an interactive environment, are there like little prop office pens on the table that you can just pick up and throw at people and it doesn't affect them.
Yeah.
Because then people will just start doing that in a meeting. It's just like there's so many distractions too.
It's a Wild West. Like, that's how I'm seeing it. I don't want to say I'm hopeful. I don't care if it succeeds or fails, but it's like, if it succeeds, I would like it to be something that's practical. Because, like, the thing that I was telling you about, like, location scout, that'd actually be pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
But a Zoom meeting, like a meeting, unless
the
it's
ideas
like
that they've presented so far are stupid.
Yeah,
is what I would say.
No, I
and
think
the
that's
ideas
fair.
that they have actually implemented are not very well done.
Yeah.
And they don't achieve what they wanted to achieve, and even the things that they want to achieve are a bit like, it's like, why do you even want that?
Yeah, it's
so
out there. Why do you want like a virtual bar? That to me just sounds like I understand you want people spending money, but that just feels like a scam. Like, you can sniff a scam.
Well, they're not spending money on drinks in the game,
right?
But it's like the virtual bar is so that you can talk to your friends.
But I imagine there's still stuff that it's like, I don't know, there's a virtual bar, so you might spend money on like a piece of clothing, or like, you know what I mean, like how you have skins in games and stuff.
Yeah, but that'd be for the actual game,
right? So in like, for example, this
buy it from the bar.
No. But what I mean is like, you wanting to go to this bar and interact with people is so that you kind of show off your uniqueness with these other virtual people that you're meeting randomly, kind of thing. It's like, you know how
you would want to show off your uniqueness if you're interacting with them, but it's
so
a byproduct of the interaction. It's not the reason for the interaction.
That's right. So I'm saying, like, forget the bar itself. It's like you just have a place where people are meeting, and you know they're meeting in this virtual space, kind of thing. I don't see, like, I can kind of see people spending money on stuff like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a revenue stream for Meta, in that they can just tell people, like, spend money on making your hair look a bit different. Spend money on making your clothes.
Like microtransactions.
No, what do you mean by microtransactions?
Like if you have even Roblox or something where you have like a thing, it's like you microtransactions, like buying skins.
Oh, yeah, exactly, yeah.
But like with microtransaction.
Okay, that's what it's called. Okay, I didn't know that. Sorry, but yeah, but like with actual money, I mean, so it's like, yeah,
microtransactions.
Is that literally what it's called? Is it
like? Yeah, if you buy something in a game that's like an item or a little thing, it's a microtransaction because you're paying a little bit of actual money for a thing in a game.
Oh, okay. So, like, in my head,
because it's a small transaction, it's not like you're paying $50 for. Well, I mean, sometimes you are.
But that's what I was gonna, like. Isn't that what people are actually spending? Because it's like, say on like Fortnite skins,
the amount of money people are spending depends on how much of that they want to get. It's like if they want to get a certain number of V-Bucks. Yeah. I think the reason they call it microtransaction is because you're
buying virtual currency.
You're buying a virtual currency.
Right. Well, yeah, and so that sort of. Anyway, besides the point. In my head, that's like what they're trying to create, like an environment for microtransactions to kind of take place, and that's like part of what they're trying to do with the metaverse. Because, yeah, sure, it starts off at like a virtual bar, but like I think the vision
Meta are not the people trying to push the virtual bar. The people who log onto the metaverse servers, like the people who use Decentraland, for example, are the people going, guys, let's make this.
Okay.
And so it's like a bunch of school kids going, let's build a pyramid on the school oval.
Oh, you're saying that like a company like Meta is not even
Meta has nothing to do with Decentraland. Decentraland is its own service on, like, just as a website is on the internet. And the internet doesn't have any control over that website.
Okay.
Decentraland is something on the metaverse, and the metaverse has nothing to do with Decentraland. They're just hosted on the metaverse.
Okay.
So the people who use Decentraland, and the people who use similar things, are posting on forums going, how cool would it be if we had a cinema where you have an interactive ticket board and you have an interactive bin where you can throw your movie rubbish in and stuff. And it's like, bro, you're just describing an actual cinema. Just go to the actual cinema. Like, Like, what are we doing here? Like,
useless, yeah. Yeah, man.
What's the point?
It'd be interesting to. I'm gonna watch this documentary and hit you up tonight.
Yeah, it's a good watch. Is that the show, Prosper?
I think that's a show, man. Yeah. Yeah, I think we had a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Cheers for listening, guys.
Thank you all.
Once again, we're probably not going to be able to do once a month as we tried, and
just quarterly.
Bit less possible now, but yeah, we'll get you something. I think video podcasts coming soon as well.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, we just got to figure out a way to do it in such a way that it's not annoying for us.
Yeah, pretty much.
And we have a way, but it'll require me kind of setting up every time. So we'll figure something out. And when that happens, hopefully get to see you guys face to face. Oh, you get to see us.
You get to see our faces.
That's right.
We do want to hear from you guys. We do have an email address, smittyandpreezypod@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at LukeProsperPod. Instagram is Smitty and PreezyPod, and so is our TikTok, but we're not very active on TikTok.
I don't even have TikTok.
Yeah. All of our links are in the description of the podcast as well. But if you want to get in contact with us, please let us know what you think. If you have any ideas, any things that you want to hear about, I don't think we've gotten any emails. So if we have, I'm sorry for the people who have missed.
We've missed you.
But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's
the show. Thank you, everyone. Jesus is risen, and we'll see you when we see you.
See you then.
Thank you. Bye-bye.